Transfer deadline day, January 2022. Duke, how are you, my friend?
Yeah. Everyone on there is just going to have to forgive me for a little bit, just while I run around and do some bits in the pub. So I'll be kind of off and on camera, hello, like that. But yeah, to be honest with you, Rob, as I said to you on the quick call this morning, I'm not feeling too confident, or I'm a little bit apprehensive more than anything else. You know, at the delays and the same shit, different deadline day that we're finding ourselves in. Because once again, you know, we were told Newman was coming in, and we were told Newman was going to make a difference. Now, whether Newman was making a difference to the quality of our transfers, or whether Newman was just going to be a pain in the arse and pretty much agree to what, you know, the other Muppets in the ballroom were pretty much dictating to Moyes how things were going to go. You know, I saw yesterday, that someone has signed someone on loan on an 18-month loan deal with an obligation to buy. And I'll be honest with you, straight away my brain went Sullivan and Gold, not necessarily Gold. Sullivan's going to sue because that's his idea. That's his.
That's his intellectual property.
Yeah, that's his go-to. You know, I'm gonna put in a bid. You know, and then we're gonna try and pay it off. You know, over the course of probably the rest of the millennium.
Maybe not an obligation to buy though, Duke. It's more an option, isn't it? It's like maybe we'll buy, maybe we won't.
But again, you know, how have these guys? And again, if I'm wrong, people in the chat, please let me know. How have we got away with it for so fucking long, Rob? Like, honestly, what is it, 12 years? Is it 12 years? These parents,
it's about that.
Bandits are pretty much dictated.
Seems like longer.
Very, very close to ruined my club. Let me come off camera because I'm not on it at the minute. So let me just stop cam for a second. So
you look better. You look much better.
Just quickly. I don't obviously. Please tell me you saw the picture that someone put together of Bobby and Isla. Nicola shared it.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I don't want to. We'll do a separate stream on that another day. We've not done one yet. Obviously, a lot of people are doing them, and I want to put something together that's a bit poignant. But rest in peace, that little lady. But the picture was outstanding. But they come away from that. Bring the whole tone of everything down. But we're here on transfer deadline day. We're 31 days into it. We've got it closes at 10, so we've got a little under 12 hours to go. And there's been no one. And we're kind of all of us. You have a look at the chats and things. You look at the chat groups, you look at Twitter and stuff like that. And we're all very frustrated, Rob. Would you agree? We're all very. Why is it not
frustrated?
But
I can't say I'm entirely surprised.
No,
can't say I'm entirely surprised. I mean, I've got some friends of mine that are Everton fans, and they said that's just David Moyes. It's that's his modus operandi in the transfer window. It very rarely seems to be that he'll get his business done early. He tends to sort of take it quite deep into the transfer window. And I mean, we was having a little conversation earlier, and I've got the list here in front of me. There are a number of Premier League clubs that actually have done no inward transfers of any description. Just to go through it, Arsenal have not made a signing. Who else? You've got Burnley have not made a signing. Crystal Palace have not made a signing. Leicester have not made a signing. Manchester City have not made a signing. Manchester United have not made a signing. Norwich have not made a signing. Neither have Southampton or Tottenham. So we're not alone. However, what I will say is I don't really give a monkeys about those other clubs, in all honesty, because I'm a West Ham fan primarily. So I look at West Ham and go, we know we need to strengthen. We know we need ideally a left-footed centre back and a number 9, a proper striker, not a winger that you're going to shunt into that position, but a proper default, tried and tested striker that's going to either put the guy that's the incumbent on the bench or move him onto the wing and drop someone else down to the bench, whatever. Here we are, 31st of January, and as I speak, we have just about 12 hours and 40 minutes there or thereabouts of the transfer window left, and we've heard lots of stories. I mean, there's this thing about Darwin Núñez this morning that allegedly has turned us down, Duke. However, I'm looking at a tweet here that says that we are continuing to hold talks about him. He has not rejected the move, according to this tweet I'm looking at from Toby Cudworth via 90 Minutes Football. It says he's not rejected the move, and it could be worth a record 60 million euros. Make of that what you will.
Listen, if anyone, and this is myself included, now, I'm going to say a couple of things now that I mentioned to a couple of people yesterday evening.
Yep.
I have been given, I've been given an allowance to say something on this. I can't mention the person's name. I can't say anything else. Now, I have to be careful how I word it. Where would my phone be? There it is. I'm going to use the exact words that I used last night, Rob.
Yep.
When I sent you this message. Okay.
Crack on.
So let me open it. Let me find it, and we'll go from there. There's a lot gone on since then, obviously.
Yeah.
You know,
this was about what, 9 o'clock last night? You popped this one out there or thereabouts?
Give or take, wasn't it? I think it was. Yeah. Pictures of someone put a picture of Jared Bowen in a Liverpool shirt because someone's decided that'll be fun. So the DCC move will go through around lunchtime today.
In case anyone that's watching, that's Duce Chaleta-Jar.
Yep, not Dominic Calvert-Lewin, spelled wrong. Yep. But Chaleta-Jar should go through by lunchtime, barring any hiccups and any slips. Now, I don't know how much to read into this because obviously Newcastle have had a bid accepted for Kite, allegedly this morning. Now,
33 million it will work out to if all of the add-ons and all that come to fruition.
As at 7:30 last night, which was when I just checked the time on this tweet when I sent this. Akite was penciled in for a medical around tea time, late afternoon, with us. Now, obviously, things have changed over the last, 18 hours since I sent this message into the ether. So I don't know. The Benteke loan thing does have legs. Unfortunately, I did see someone in the chat mention earlier that
was Rob. I don't think he's a fan. I could be wrong.
No, I mean, listen, as I said to you when I was popping around outside, taking me banking and stuff over, I said to you, didn't I? He's not a bad option off the bench. He's a big lump. He's good in the air. Very much Andy Carroll-esque, and let's be honest, with the boys that are going to be putting in the deliveries, the likes of, Bowen, Cresswell, Lanzini, Fornals, these guys that can deliver good crosses, Benteke on the end of them. I'm not, last 15, 20 minutes of a game where we need to try and break sides down, I'm not dead set against it. I am pissed off that we're still looking at the dregs of other people's barrels, but here we are. Listen, that's what it is.
And this was a player we could have got for free in the summer because he was out of contract at Palace, and there was rumours that we were interested. He obviously then signed a new contract at Palace, but this was a guy that we could have got for free if we'd have got our asses into gear in the summer. And here we are a couple of months later talking about possibly signing the guy and paying a fee. I mean, that's just so West Ham, isn't it?
It's exactly typical, Rob. There's a possible loan thing on the cards for Hlosek. I don't know how much to read into that, considering just how much we've been, the links have been thrown around over the last, 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I know we were all very interested in Abdullah Sima, and look how well that.
Yeah, he's doing really well there, isn't he, at Stoke?
That turned out. There could be a surprise on the Calvert-Lewin front. We may go in. I don't know. Again, not quite sure what to read into that, considering that they're going to want a lot.
Well, not just that, but does Frank Lampard now becoming their manager change the dynamic a little bit?
Things. Yeah, I think, and Calvert-Lewin's attitude might change. I know he was pissed off with Luca Digne going and being sold like he was, and that might have been part and parcel of why Calvert-Lewin, probably wanted out. And then, as I said to you yesterday, the bid for Rafinha was there. The bid for Calvin Phillips was a genuine one, and from what I'm being led to understand, and again, I'm following a source. This is not something I'm making up as I go, but I'm kind of putting myself in the hands of someone who's told me this on decent authority. Is that we will go back in because it's Kretinsky who's willing to fund the deal for Calvert-Lewin, for Calvin Phillips.
Yep.
He's willing to bankroll that, and from what I was told yesterday, he's willing to go to 75 to get his hands on a man that Declan Rice specifically has come out and said he wants at West Ham. That comes from the guy that told me, also told me exactly what I told you the other day, Rob, if you remember rightly. Something I can't talk about, but again, that was mentioned to me. And Declan Rice has asked for us to go get Calvin Phillips. Read into that what you will. I don't know, but again, Kretinsky's willing to bankroll this one for about 75 mil is what we're willing to go to. Now, as you said yesterday, would they let him go for that? I think it's a bloody good price. We're saying that Declan Rice worth to us is about 120 million. I think 75 as a worth to Leeds, considering where they would finish if they kept Calvin Phillips in their team, and this is exactly what I was trying to explain when we did a stream not so long ago, would be that it all comes down to where these players help you finish and your position in the table, your earnings, and I think 75 million for Calvin Phillips is about right. But again, that's me. I don't know about anyone else out there in the wide world, but again, that's what I've been told. That's what I've been told, and I've taken on good faith and good conscience that the person that's telling me this, has the information. He gave me some other information, earlier in the week, as I said to you.
Yes, we discussed that. That one, I'm literally not allowed to say anything on. No,
but I was told I could mention exactly what I've just mentioned there. So, listen, we're sitting here having a big old shit whinge about the fact that we've not done nothing. And if I'm honest with you, if Kretinsky does go hand in pocket and drops 75 million on a table for Calvin Phillips, we get Coletta Carr, the Hosek loan. I'd be out of all of those, I'd be quite happy essentially with that window, because I think we strengthen in a couple of positions. We do strengthen in a couple of positions with Coletta Carr coming in, and definitely with Calvin Phillips coming in. If that's if that is the truth, that we're going to go back in and Krasinski's there chucking money around. Adam Hlošek, it certainly strengthens our bench with regards to Yama. Pretty much not, being the only option that we can bring off the bench.
Yeah.
So if 3 out of those, what did I mention there? 5, 3 out of 5, I'd be quite happy, Rob. If 3 out of those 5 come in, like I say,
can't see 3. I could possibly see 2.
Even if we end up with the 2 loans, I'm not quite sure where we stand with regards to foreign and domestic loans, because I still think we're still trying to push the handle with Jesse, but obviously with the allegations that were Instagram storied out yesterday morning, and again, I'm not gonna, because innocent until proven guilty, but it doesn't
100%. Yeah,
that
was what I said to you.
With the voice notes
No.
and things like that. But if to a degree, like I say, innocent until proven guilty, I'm not gonna start throwing mud, because that's not what we're about as a channel. But
all I'll say is remember Ched Evans. I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm not saying he's innocent. There's some bloody serious accusations around that young man you're talking about. But
the fact that he has been, a man of his age has been taken into custody by the police.
Yeah.
You've got to ask questions. But if that is the case, are United going to be in a position where they can afford to let Lingard go, regardless of it being a loan with an extortionate fucking price for Newcastle staying up, or coming to us in any way, shape, or form, when they now have suspended said player from active duty until this is obviously played out either in a court of law, or it doesn't have to be. The police are happy with anything else. So I'm kind of looking at it going, well, I honestly don't think then that young lad being suspended as such is going to allow Lingard to go anywhere this transfer window.
Yeah, and exactly what Steve says, innocent until proven guilty. And listen, the accusations are quite grave and serious, and if he's done it, then chuck the book at him, not a problem. But all I'll say is remember Ched Evans.
Yeah, exactly.
This was a guy that, and for those of you that are not aware, Ched Evans was accused of rape, and he actually was tried and convicted in a court of law and served a sentence. However, there was later some evidence that came out that changed everything. The initial sentence was quashed, and they had a retrial, and he was exonerated. But his career was completely destroyed. His reputation was completely destroyed.
His life, essentially, Rob, was pretty much destroyed, because and I've got to say this: fair play to his partner at the time. From what I remember, she stood by him. She stood by him. They were still, from what I understand, they were still together throughout his sentence, and she was there when he was released. So fair play to her on that sense. Couldn't have been easy for them to go through as a couple what they'd gone through, let alone him going through what he went through. Outside of all of that. So, I kind of find myself wondering what situation we're finding ourselves in right now. And for his sake, I hope it's not true, because that boy, more than likely, will not play in this country again anyway, because he will find himself absolutely, I mean, not being funny, look what we did to David Beckham when he got himself sent off in a World Cup. That was quite trivial in the grand scheme of things, and people were hanging effigies of David Beckham from lampposts and shit like that. Yeah. So can you imagine exactly what's going to happen to this young man if found guilty, etc. So
yeah.
But no, I only bring that up because obviously we were talking about signings and loans, and obviously Lingard was one of those, and we find ourselves in a position now where I feel that that's going to be very much done and dusted, because they're not going to be able to let him go. with this hanging over it, you know.
Let's turn our attentions, Duke, if I may. Just having a look on the Sky Sports News website, just the latest things that are trending, and right at the top we have Donny van der Beek. This is sort of like opening it up now. We're not just talking about West Ham. We're opening it up to the Premier League. Donny van der Beek, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and Christian Eriksen are the three names that are mentioned in dispatches. So Donny van der Beek could be, within 24 hours of him being announced, the first signing of Frank Lampard's tenureship. He's if that's the case, he's moving pretty quick, isn't he? Especially compared to David Moyes.
Well, again, I was 12 hours, 22 minutes and 57 seconds is where we're at with the transfer window. Now, I'm looking at this thing with Frank Lampard, and would I be right in thinking, Rob, and yourself as well? Do you reckon this was a condition of him taking the job at
what? Getting Van der Beek in?
Everton, that Van der Beek would be a key first signing?
I would have thought that if Frank Lampard had sat down and had an interview with Farhad Moshiri, Bill Kenwright, and the rest, that he's gone in there and he said, listen, the clock is ticking. We need to get some bodies in, and this is my wish list. Go see, go do. I'm fairly sure that he would have gone in there with a plan. I mean, I know what Kent said. I mean, Kent and I, we had a couple of messages going back and forth. Nothing sort of nasty. Kent and I are, grown men, and we can agree to disagree, and we don't have to fall out over it. Kent's of the opinion that Frank Lampard is possibly not the answer for Everton Football Club. I happen to disagree. I happen to think he could be he's a good fit for them, in my opinion. Now, time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not a fan of certainly not a fan of Frank Lampard.
He is, Ken. Yes, there is a medical. I saw that on Sky just a little earlier.
I'm not a fan of Lampard as a manager. I think he had his hands tied behind his back at Chelsea with the transfer debacle.
That first season, yeah.
Yeah, and he wasn't able to bring in who he wanted. And then I do believe that the players that were brought in weren't necessarily someone that he would have picked personally himself. Now, that being said, he still didn't do a job with the players he had. So he kind of finds himself coming in now to a point where he's got a point to prove. Now, does he have a little bit of a 6 month kind of free run at it? Because they're not in a great position at the minute, are they? Does he kind of has he been given a?
Do you think they're in any danger of going down, Duke? Realistically,
honestly, yeah, I think they could find themselves in a very bad position, Rob, if they lose.
Okay.
Maybe one or two more games quite quickly. And I say that because Newcastle picked their win up the other day, didn't they? Which did they win? I know they drew a game. I think they won. I know Watford win? I know there was.
No, they got beat, didn't they? Watford got. That was when they pulled the trigger on Ranieri. Was it Norwich?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was it. It was Norwich that won, which really isn't going to make much difference to their situation, if I'm honest with you. But I was kind of looking at it and I was thinking, you know what? Everton, a few choice results, and Everton might find themselves looking below them, going, "Holy shit balls, here we go." Burnley, again, I've not really had a great chance to look at, league tables, etc., because obviously the new job and spending a hell of a lot of hours behind the bar in these first 4 weeks. I'm thinking Burnley are looking over their shoulder. Again, they've sold Chris Wood. Are they going to be in a situation where, holy shit balls, they're looking over their shoulder? Everton looking over their shoulder, because obviously Newcastle are, as I saw on Twitter earlier, very much a scattergun policy at the moment, and it looks like they're pretty much using everyone else to do their scouting for them. Here we were going, Etikite or whatever his name is, and all of a sudden Newcastle are going, hello, we want, and there's, everyone else there, they're kind of hijacking and jumping on the back of. And I'm just thinking, well, it's very much, as someone put on Twitter, it is very much a scattergun approach. They're just kind of going, you'll do, yeah, oh, hello, money, and that's all they're doing. There doesn't seem to be any kind of, shall we say, rhyme or reason behind it, Rob. And I kind of, if I was a Newcastle fan, I'd be a little bit miffed because there's a lot of fucking money sitting in that club, and they've gone from expecting the likes of Mbappe to walk through the door, and they ended up signing Chris Wood. I think I might be slightly pissed off.
But do you think getting back to Donny van de Beek to Everton, do you think that that's a decent signing for Everton?
Massive, huge. My word, I'd love to be all over that. That's
Why do you think he's flopped so badly at United? And what do you think? What was the problem there? Do you think?
I think a bit of confidence. I don't think necessarily that Solskjaer saw in him what pretty much everyone else saw in him. To be fair,
but he signed him.
I know, but I don't. But once he got onto the training pitches and he started doing the other bits and pieces, I just don't think he saw what he wanted in him. I don't think it kind of worked out for him. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, would have been all over that shit, Rob. I think he's a smashing player. I think he's very much. The type of player that we once had that actually went to United. He's got that kind of. He carries himself a bit like a carrot, and I really do like him. And I don't understand why he hasn't been given the shout at Old Trafford. If I'm honest, I would have been all over that if I was Moyes. I know we're looking at the possibility of Calvin Phillips, etc. But if I was Moyes, that's one that I would have been all over. Rob would have been Donny van de Beek, knowing that obviously he can't get games there, but then we're also looking at the fact that soon as the bastards won't let us have Lingard because they're worried that we're going to finish above them, are we finding ourselves in the same sort of situation that if we'd gone after Van de Beek, that we would have been told, politely go yourself, because we're worried about
price of success.
Yeah, but hey, listen, I mean, we're here. We're talking about the teams in and around us. We're looking at Villa. Villa have gone out and done some very, very good business. I know that there are some people on here that didn't fancy Luca Digne, and that's fair enough, And I think after watching a little bit of Villa's games, etc., that they might have had a point that he's very much just a slightly better version of Arthur Masuaku. Can't defend, but my God, going forward, the kid's good, And I'm kind of looking at that, going, okay, well, did we dodge a bullet? Did we not? Are we, in a position where we can say, okay, that's one that we've kind of missed out on, but it's probably better for us. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sitting here and I am getting hella concerned that we're not doing nothing. There, on the flip side to that, are we in a situation where we're looking at it and everything's going on behind the scenes, and because Moyes has told everyone to shut up, stop leaking, stop doing this, stop doing that, that's why we don't know nothing. That's why we're being told absolutely, jack diddly squat. So,
well, that's the thing for me. I mean, I'm not being funny. When there was rumours coming out left, right and centre, we're signing, and there still is rumours, but they're not coming from what I can see. They're not emanating from the direction of the club. They're not coming from Jack Sullivan's Twitter account or anything like that. They're coming from external sources. So you always take them with a little pinch of salt. It's a little bit clickbaity. Do you know what I mean? As far as rumours coming from a sort of like a club direction, that does seem to have largely been shut down. And we was all moaning about the rumours coming out back in the day, and everyone was saying, oh, they need to shut up. They need to keep their powder dry and not sort of alert other clubs to our true targets because otherwise people come in and gazump us, blah, blah, blah. Now the rumour mill seems to have sort of shut down quite completely, and we're moaning about that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, listen, grand scheme of things, I'd rather know something than nothing. But again, on the flip side, I'm kind of grateful that that rumour mill has been shut down. But I mean, there is still something going on because we're in a position where other clubs are still knowing our business. You only have to look at Everton Newcastle to realise that we've kind of gone for Keto. It's been noted that we've kind of gone for Keto.
Did we though?
Well, again, is it something that's been leaked and they've jumped on it because they felt that they could get that it was someone we wanted? But then, as I said to you, the other fella, the Irish fella, currently playing in France, he's had spells at Dundee, Colchester, MK Dons, rada. And as Sky reported it, he's being seen as a cheap backup option.
Was it Reece Healy?
Yeah, and I'm looking at that and I'm kind of going, Rob, well, this is disappointing. And it's no disrespect to Reece Healy. He's probably a cracking player at a certain level. I watched Jordan Hugill score for Cardiff yesterday. Very well taken goal. Not good enough for Premier League, but can cut it at that level below. And good luck to him. If that's his level, that's his level, and he can carve a very good career out of being a championship player. There's nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. It's certainly fucking a darn sight better than you or I. You know what I mean? So, but here we are looking at this Healy character, and I'm going, well, that's not for that's our next Jordan Hugill, Rob. And no disrespect to Hugill meant by that.
Yeah. What do you make of Aubameyang going to Barcelona by the looks of things on a loan?
Obviously, it's going to be a loan deal without...
Do you think maybe we should have intercepted? See if we could have sort of like agreed a deal that maybe we stump up X amount of his wages for the rest of the season. I don't know. I'm just sort of throwing that one out there. Maybe he wouldn't have come, but...
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, would they let him?
Yeah, true. It's Man United all over again.
We're in a situation where we're up against this side for one of their players, and we're also in a position where they're trying to finish us in the league. What happens if, very much like Lingard, very much like the way Man U are looking at it, what if they give him us and he propels us to finishing higher than his parent club? They're going to look a bit embarrassed, aren't they? So I can't imagine that they'd be happy for that to happen. So I think, in a way, have we learned our lesson? Maybe. Have we learned our lesson? The fact that these clubs are not going to want to sell to us, and we've got to look essentially elsewhere. It's annoying because I'd like to think that if we bought in someone like Aubameyang and Lingard, then we'd finish top four, because I think Aubameyang is a fantastic striker. He's pacey, he knows where the net is. For me, that would have been a no-brainer, but unfortunately, we're in a position where these guys aren't going to want to let these players come to us, and we've just got to start looking. But spending money, Rob, it's no good. It's no good going and looking at some cheaper options to pad out the squad. That doesn't work for me. As Gio and Gonzo were talking on Hamish Chat not so long ago, let's go out. Not only we're looking at improving the bench. Well, why not improve the first team? If you go out and buy a £30 million striker to replace Antonio goes onto the bench, replaces Yarmolenko, your bench is stronger, but so's your first team. Now, when you want to replace that £30 million striker, granted, you're probably going to have to go pay 40 for the next upgrade. He goes onto the bench, Antonio moves on, Bob's your uncle, so on and so forth, and you get to a point where you're kind of replacing a £100 million striker with another £100 million striker. I'm not saying we're never going to get to that point, but it kind of makes my point that we need to start looking to upgrade the bench, right? by upgrading the first team, you upgrade your bench. Just a natural, natural momentum and how it works. You replace one in the first team, they move to the bench. Yarmolenko comes off the bench. If we look at another centre back as such, kind of you take your pick of Bonner. Falls by the wayside as such because he's the elder statesman. So that person then walks in alongside Zuma. Bonner to the bench. Dawson. Well, all of a sudden your bench is stronger because we know that Bonner for us at the moment is preferred over Dawson, etc., etc. So, a left back, Cresswell drops out, Masuaku leaves, hopefully. Again, no disrespect meant, but that's what it's got to be about. And I'm sick and tired of looking at these cheaper options for backup. It doesn't work for me, and I'm kind of getting to a point where I'm like, we need to be we need to be taking this seriously if we want to be taken seriously, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. What about this story about Christian Eriksen for the rest of the season? He's gone to Brentford. Obviously, he had his cardiac arrest in the Euros. Terrible, terrible scenes that we all witnessed. Here he is now about to make a debut in the Premier League for Brentford. It's a bit of a fairy tale, that one, isn't it?
Absolutely buzzing for the lad. I will be perfectly honest and say I'm a bit miffed. Again, another player that I would have been all over, Rob. All over. Because I think he's an amazing player. I think he would have quite easily come and fit into our side. There's no two ways about it. Now I know others are going to probably disagree with that, and that's fine. I've got no qualms with that. I don't mind people coming in and disagreeing with that. I know some people are a bit up in arms the fact that he's coming back after a cardiac arrest. They don't feel it's the right thing, and again, understandable. Listen, he wouldn't be coming back though if it wasn't safe for him to do so. I don't think that any doctor would have passed him medically fit.
Yeah.
Knowing that they would have been held accountable for it if he wasn't physically ready to go play. But I'm buzzing for the lad. I think it's an absolutely fantastic move for Brentford. Again, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't really looked at league tables, etc. But I
think they're about 16th or so, if I remember correctly.
I think they might be okay. Again, they might get dragged in if a couple of results go the wrong way. But again, I think they're possibly in a position where it's not going to be too much of a problem for them, and they find themselves, there or thereabouts, and staying up, which then gives the young man a choice to make, doesn't it? Really, he's then got to go and make a decision as to whether he wants to stay there.
Yeah.
That being said, if he has an absolute blinding 6 months or 5 months as it is now, are other clubs going to be sitting up, looking, taking notice? Your bigger clubs, your Uniteds, your Arsenals, Arsenal, they're a big club in terms of stature still. Your Spuds might be having a little, have a little look. So those options will come in for him. But I'm buzzing for the lad. I think it's a great move for Brentford. I think he deserves one more shot. I'm not 100% sure on why the rules in Italy are what the rules are. There's obviously a reason for it, and I'm not going to judge them for that. But I just think that it's good to see that lad's got an opportunity to come back onto the pitch again and do his job as such.
Might be from an insurance point of view. I don't know how the rules work, but obviously they've got this rule in Serie A that says that if you have, I saw it earlier. They referred to it as an IVD or IVC. The bit of kit that he's got that is essentially a pacemaker is something that they don't allow players in that league to have.
Yeah, but my question would be, and if anyone knows in the chat there, what brought that on? Where did that come from with regards to the other players? Like what happened to other players that meant that had to be a thing? Because that's obviously come from somewhere. Was there a player that had a heart attack, had one of these things fitted, something went drastically wrong whilst someone was wearing one of these things, and we find ourselves now in a situation where Christian Eriksen's not allowed to play over there because he's had one of these things fitted, and obviously they've had a bad experience with it. I don't know. I'm very unaware of that side of things. It's unfortunately something that's passed me by. But no, as I say, buzzing for the lad. I'm gutted if we didn't make a move for him, because I think that would have been something we a sort of player that we could have really done with.
Charlie, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Thank you for asking me. I wasn't expecting it. Just joined the live chat to hear the wisdom. I was hearing Duke preach it. I was like, this is big plays. And then you're like, come on. So I appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
How are you outside of the window?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as the window's concerned, Charlie, what from a West Ham point of view, where are you at?
I don't know. Listen, you know that scene in the Titanic, right, where he's in the water and she is on the thing, right? That is like all my hopes and dreams are on the thing, and I'm like holding on to them dearly, but I know it's not meant for long, and I'm just fading. And at some point, my hopes and dreams, they're going to look up and they're just going to see me frozen, just like in the water, just dead. Yeah, not great, mate. Not great. Not great.
It's shit. Let's be honest. Let's not even. Yeah. Listen, I love your analogy and I love the wording. It was very poetic.
Thank you.
But to take take the poeticness away from it, it's just shit, Charlie, isn't it? It's just. We're here again. Me and Andy did me and Miles did one, didn't we, for August? And it was very much the same fucking thing. And here we are 6 months later. We haven't learned. We haven't learned to get it done early in the window, and we're now, all of us fans are sitting here going, same old West Ham, we were promised different. Newman's coming in, we were promised different. Same shit, different transfer deadline day, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing, it's like, I've seen a lot of people talking about the idea of like, oh, is this Newman's fault? Is it Kretinsky's fault? Is it Moyes' fault? Is it Sullivan's fault? All this stuff, and it's like, this is nothing new. Like, we can sit here and we can kid ourselves about everything else, but the fact of the matter is, we've been here before. We've done this dance. We expected this dance. Like, it's where we're at.
Yeah.
It's not a shock, is it?
No.
I think we were hoping for something different, but
yes, yeah.
You know,
but why is that, Duke? I mean, is that because of Kretinsky's addition to the formula? Because other than him, everybody, all the sort of pieces of the jig, and possibly Rob Newman, obviously, is another addition. But take those two to one side. Everybody that's involved in the business at the club is still the same as it ever was. It's still David Moyes, David Sullivan, David Gold, Karen Brady.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to open the pub, so I'm going to have people walking in and I'm going to be serving. But I'll carry on the video. What I will say is, it is the same. It's the same. It's the same villains of the piece, isn't it? It's not. That hasn't changed for us right now. We're still looking at the same owners, the same bunch of twats that are sitting there. But we were kind of promised that things would be different once Newman came in, because of our extensive scouting and all the rest of it. Things would change for us. Yet nothing has. Nothing has changed for us. Nothing has. It's repetitive. What is it? Idiocy is repeating the same thing over and over again, and this, we're delusional as fans. We're currently delusional, and I think that might be part of our problem.
Where do we go from here? I mean, we've got 12 hours? Well, Less than that now. It's
probably
11 hours.
Probably Duke's pub to get over it and drown our sorrows.
Yeah.
If we're being honest about
Come
it.
on down. I will do it.
Where are you,
I'll do a
Duke?
thing. I'm at this lovely place. Let me just come on camera. Hello. Ooh, I am serving, so I'm going back off now.
I mean, the truth is, it's kind of what Duke's just alluded to there. I think you look at it and you say, well, realistically, we may have brought in all these new people, but actually the deals to be done are still being done by David Sullivan, and there's still a gatekeeper in David Moyes, right? So it doesn't matter. Like, Rob Newman might be able to go and identify some of the best players in the world, but if the person who's trying to buy that can't do it, then they can't do it. We've identified Núñez out of nowhere, right? I would be ecstatic if we signed Núñez. He hasn't got good over the last week. He's been good for a while.
Yeah.
And if we've identified him, then we probably knew about it for a while. Why does it come down to the final day for it to happen? Is the question. And something else I would say as well is, like, you probably saw this, Gatesy, in the Hammers Track group chat, the Addicts one. I can't remember who it was who was saying about why haven't we asked him if he wanted to join before we started bidding for him? Why haven't we figured that out? The truth is, he might actually be up for it. He might prefer Lisbon and everything else that's been said in the chat, and fair play. Yeah, so would I.
I saw a tweet a little earlier from, I can't remember who it was now, but this journalist has made the claim that he apparently hasn't turned us down.
Yeah, Toby Cardworth at 90 minutes is saying that it's still it's not dead yet, which we'll see. I guess, I mean, only time will tell on who's right in the end. My gut is to trust the Athletic more than to trust 90 mins, but we'll see what happens. That could be proven wrong. But yeah, I think it could. He might have been able to come. He might have been up for coming. If we'd done this a week ago, we might have been able to persuade him to come. But the fact of the matter is we've gone up to this kid who's on the other side of the world, concentrating on his international duties, and we've gone up to him and gone, right, you need to make a decision literally this second as to whether the next 4 years of your life are spent at a club who's currently the Champions League or currently Europa League. And you can't act like somewhere where he's settled, he's been for many years, he's going to go, yeah, right, let's go. He might do it in a whim, you might. But realistically, that's the kind of thing you're doing. So not only are you pushing it so late to try and get better, but you're making this more difficult than it need be. We've known about Kaleta Carr for a year at least. We've been linked with Kaleta Carr for a year, right? Why is this still not done? It's not complicated. And again, I get it. You might want to get the best deal possible, but this is the problem with the way we work, right? For example, we might sit at the end of every window, or Sullivan might sit at the end of every window and go, do you know what? It took a while, but the deals we did were good. We got good deals done. Originally we were supposed to sign Ben Rama for 30 mil up front. We got him on a loan to buy. That is financially a better deal. Yes, I'm not going to disagree with you, but how often do we miss out on our number one targets? You know, Pellegrini wanted Maxi Gomez, he got Haller. Moyes wanted Eze, he wanted Tarkowski, he wanted all these people first choice. And the reason we don't do it is because we dither. We do anything apart from
clearly not David Moyes, because you just said there it happened under Pellegrini. So it's not necessarily David Moyes.
It's not new. I would say the blame lies with both, but I don't think it's new. I don't think it's new at all. I think you can certainly lay some blame at Moyes' feet for saying, well, and I think personally, if he wasn't here, we would have signed a striker already. I think that's probably pretty clear. And mainly because, again, you can look at the track record. We signed basically every striker under the sun before he turned up. And of course, everyone will say, well, do you just want to go and sign Zaza and all this over again? No, but there's a middle ground between signing no one and signing every piece of dross you've ever come across in your life. There is a middle ground. I think the truth is that there's blame to be apportioned everywhere. And it shows that the strategy there is not working. Either it's not working or just isn't in place. I think realistically, you have two forces in David Sullivan and David Moyes pulling in opposite directions, trying to do different things. And ultimately, this is what that boils down to. It boils down to us on deadline day, looking at Healy, looking at Egan, not to diss these people, but skipping from Kaleta Carr to Egan, skipping from Núñez to Healy. This is what happens.
Yeah, the Healy one, I just look at and go, I'm not being funny. This guy's never really. I think I looked. He's played one game at Premier League level. in his entire career. And the rest of the time he's bumbled around in Championship, and he's now in the second division of French football. This is not someone that, I mean, this is what annoys me. It's like, hang on a minute, we're in with a slight chance of getting Champions League football next season. I know that it could be argued that realistically is getting further away, but we're still in with a chance. We're in the last 16 of the Europa League. We're still in the FA Cup. Why are we not leveraging all of those things in our favour to get players in through the door? And we're ending up looking at a guy in the second tier of French football who no one, quite frankly, has heard of.
It's comical. It's actually genuinely comical. And the worst part about it is, if you said to me, who would you make bets on coming in this window? And by the end of today, who would you make bets being West Ham players? I would say I would probably be pretty confident about Kaleta. I'm relatively confident Kaleta is going to happen. Outside of that, Healy's probably the one I'm most confident about happening, because he's available. He's there.
Just on that one, Steve, as I say, my problem is and to compare and contrast, as I say, Healy's played one game in his entire career in top level football. Dawson had played an awful lot more. Now, I know that your point you're making is a lot of people were on the case of Craig Dawson when he come through. Oh, Championship Craig, he's just been relegated twice in 3 seasons, blah, blah, blah. I get that. And obviously for the first few months of the season, he sat on the bench and did nothing. But he did have a Premier League pedigree about him when he walked through the door. This guy doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is, like, even I wouldn't back Healy. Even I would back. Look, and I've backed a lot. I listen, and I will continue to back a lot of bad football players. I don't care what anyone says, but yeah, even I wouldn't back you. And that's not. Look, I'm sure Healy's a nice guy. I feel quite. Obviously, look, if you're Healy, you must be sitting there laughing your head off. You've gone to Toulouse.
Jordan Hugill all over again.
Listen, don't diss my boy.
I knew you would.
Look, if you're Healy, you're probably laughing your ass off. You're sitting there in Ligue 2 of all places, doing well for Toulouse. He's having a good time there, right? Having a grand old time. Probably, he's lived in Cardiff. He's lived in other places. He's living in a nice part of France, enjoying his life. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Premier League West Ham are in for you. Like, he must be laughing his head off, and I would be too. And
give me the pen.
Why not? Even if it's not to diss him, and I feel bad because he's sort of, if he was to sign semi-similarly to Hugo, he's going to become emblematic of a terrible window, and I think that's probably harsh on him, because he's taking the deal that's in front of him. Obviously he would, but I just find it's insane that, I just find it completely and utterly, because it makes, the worst thing is the fact it's so weird makes it make sense. I believe the Healy thing more than I believe the Núñez thing, for example. Even though the Núñez thing makes infinitely more sense for a club like West Ham to be trying to chase, the Healy one is so completely random that you go, oh, yeah, okay, that's actually plausible. And if we don't get anyone else, like, we'd probably sign Benteke over him. But if we weren't to get anyone else, it's doable. It's there. We need a striker.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen. 10:30 tonight, we're going to have the white smoke coming out of Rush Green, aren't we? We've signed Reece Healy, and everyone's going to go, okay, great, fantastic. It's like I say, it's Jordan Hugill all over again. And as I say, I'm not blaming Jordan Hugill. I don't blame Healy. 100%, Let's have it right. If you're plying your trade in the second tier of French football, or in the case of Jordan Hugill, the second tier of English football, and you've got a Premier League club walking up to you with a multi-year contract on big money comparative to what you're earning or what you've ever earned in your entire life, this is change your life sort of territory. Here's a pen, here's a contract. Do you want to come to us? Mate, you're going to sign that contract in double quick time. And I mean, Jordan Hugill, played 24 minutes of first team football, I think it was.
Something like that. It was 22, 23, 24, something like that.
Yeah, and he's obviously, he signed that contract, and good luck to the kid. It's not his fault that he was scouted and he was sort of put a contract in front of. It's not his fault that he was only utilised for 24 minutes of first team football. You know, good luck to him. But in terms of what it would mean for my club and your club and our club, no, just no. He's, like I say, he's played one game of top tier football in his career. He's 27. It's not like you could turn around and go, yeah, but he's 21 and
that was when he was young as well. That was when he was young.
Yeah.
He moved to Cardiff. He had 2 years in Wales. He moved to Cardiff from there, had one game in the Premier League, then spent the rest of his career in the Championship and League One until he moved to Toulouse in the French second division. So he's got no pedigree for the top level whatsoever. And again, we've signed players from the second division in France before. We signed Sacco there. It worked out, right? But we're in the Europa League, man. Like we're fighting for the Champions League.
That doesn't make sense to me, Charlie. You know, I said this a little while ago. I appreciate that we're not a Champions League club, and I appreciate that we're not a club that in our history has qualified for European competitions consistently. That I get. But right here, right now, like I say, we're sort of like in the top 6 of the Premier League. We're last 16 of the Europa. We topped our group. All of the other factors combined, and I appreciate we're not going to be going in for the Lewandowskis, for the Mbappes, for the Haalands, those players. I get that. But surely there's a tier of players underneath that would surely look at West Ham and go, do you know what? That as a project, I'm interested in. We hear 100%. That word bandied around all the time, project. As a project, because David Moyes, when he was at Everton, he obviously had a long tenureship there, 10, 11 years, whatever, and he built it and all the rest of it. Surely they would look and go, 62,000 every other week, London, European football, top end of the Premier League, tick, 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 tick. They're an attractive proposition. Why are we sitting here on the 31st of January at 13 minutes past 11 on deadline day, and we're going, Ekitike looks like he's going to Newcastle. Nunes has told us to get stuffed. Various other strikers. I mean, Wout Weghorst was a player that was tentatively linked with us. He's just gone to Burnley. Now, all right,
just signed,
maybe he wouldn't have stylistically fitted. I don't know. But like I say, all these players that we've sort of like had links with and no one over the line.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm frustrated as much as you boys right now. I mean, I keep looking up at the TV and going, you know, do something. It's the picture doing the rounds on the Twitter, isn't it? It's the stick man poking the badge with a stick, going, "Come on,
do something."
And that's where we all find ourselves at the minute. Like we're frustrated because again we're back to a point where we're back to that window again. We're back to where we were 6 months ago. You know, we're sitting there and listen, we were promised things were going to be different when they brought in Newman. We were told that our scouting, our attention to detail, transfers were going to be significantly, we were going to use his significant resources that obviously he had at City. He knows these players. He knows what we're looking for. He knows what he's going to do when he comes in. We were promised this. That was the whole thing when Newman came in. I remember reading the articles and stuff. Yet here we are, same shit, different day. Again, I've said it several times on this stream. Nothing's changed for us. All right, that's very loud. What is that? That's a funeral going. I don't know if you can hear this. That's a funeral going through Lewisham High Street.
A funeral.
That's a funeral. It's
Vibey. That's how I want to go.
It's very. Anyway, we're at a point where nothing's changed, and again, much like moving to the stadium, the promise, or we hope to be playing Champions League football. We've been lied to again, and I think we're at a point where we kind of we knew it was coming. We kind of wanted it to be different, but also kind of knew that it was going to be the same. And I just think we're all in a point, boys, where I think I personally I've had enough of this regime now. I know everyone's saying about GSB out, and it's been going on for a while. And I was at a point where you know what, they kind of back Moyes. You know, they put a bit of money where their mouth is, kind of hoping things are going to be different. But it's not, and I'm now back to the point of, right, get these out of my club. I'm done again. Listen, that's going to spill into the stadium come, you know, the restart of the Premier League after this break. That's going to end up back in the stadium, and that's my concern, is that the negativity aimed towards the board on a bad result, i.e. Burnley a few years ago, that's gonna happen all over again. And then that toxic environment. Listen, we ain't aiming it towards the players. We're certainly not aiming it towards the shirt and the badge. It's aimed at that director's box, that owner's box. But the problem is that will feed down. We know that. We've already had this conversation many times. I'm just worried that once we get back out of this window again, that's what we're going to not out of the window, out of the winter break, that's what we're going to be looking at.
Charlie, Benteke?
My boy, Jason. Hello. What you did? Get back to work. Nah. He's not Moyes. He's not Moyes' style. He's not Moyes' style. That's why. Regardless of whether I like the guy or not, because I'm not super keen on Benteke as a footballer. At this stage, 5 years, 6, 7 years ago when he was at Villa, of course, but now no. But he screams Haller to me. In the way his stylistic play, and I don't think that's what he would want. I don't think that's what Moyes would want. We'll see. Maybe Moyes will prove me wrong and play him and sign him and play him really well, and I'll be happy with that. I'll be glad for that. But yeah, not for me. Not for me. Hello, Jason. But yeah, no. I'll say this to bounce off what Duke just said before I go away and leave everyone alone. And I just fade back into the chat and lurk while I work. I think Duke's 100% correct. And I think we need to realize that slightly as a club, because I think it's really easy as football fans to distract ourselves. We all love a 1-0 win. We all love a smash and grab 1-0 win, right? But sometimes those smash and grab 1-0 wins paint over some significant cracks. And I often try to look past that and look at the underlying things and say, okay, right, how are the team actually playing over the course of 90 minutes? Because if a team play well for 90 minutes and then they lose, but they keep doing that, eventually the results will come. Whereas if a team are playing terrible, but again, smash and grabs, that's not sustainable. And if, say, we signed today, like Núñez and Caleta-Car, right, would be perfect for me. I would be ecstatic with that, right? I would be like, oh my God, we've pulled off some coups here. We've done some big bits, right? But even if we were to do that, significant questions need to be asked about why the hell it's taken this long, why the rest of the window has gone like that. Hey, we can have one good day in the window and it end up working out. But realistically, we should be spending, all 31 of them actually doing things that are useful and moving towards a better version of the club, as opposed to what we have done. There's significant questions to be asked. When you look at this idea of, for example, who's in charge, David Moyes or David Sullivan, all you have to do in a microcosm is just look at the strikers. I think it's very easy to go, well, we've been linked with a lot of strikers, so we're sort of trying to figure our stuff out. But they're so different. Gabigol, Núñez, Healy, Benteke, Trossard, Cabral, these are all such completely different styles of strikers that shows that either A, the process isn't working, or B, there is no process to begin with. You have several camps identifying players and going and doing different things, trying to sign them. There is no rhyme or reason to that. And that is a huge problem, because it's always been the case at West Ham since David Gold and David Sullivan came in that our transfers have been, people like to use the word scattergun. I think that's kind. It's been random. It's been completely.
They just got a bucket of horse shit, chucked it at a running pan, and it's just gone.
Yeah. Big Victorian vibes out the window. And it's like, this has always been the case. And I know, again, people don't like to hear this to some extent. The only time really we've had any sort of rhyme, there was 2 times. Allardyce was fairly in control of transfers, and he had his stuff locked down. And even then he said, sometimes they would just rock up and give you a present.
Wellington Paulista.
Yeah, exactly. Was
Diafra a Sullivan signing as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he 100% was. There's a reason why we're looking at League at the moment. But yeah, there's even then he was a bit of control. And the other one, which people don't like to talk about, is Pellegrini. Pellegrini had control for the most part, not completely, but he had control for the most part. He's the manager who since then has managed to wrangle the most of control away from Sullivan. And it shows in the transfers. We went, right, we want Pablo Fornals. We go and sign him before he's even gone to his summer tournaments. The deal is there to be done. We go and we make it happen. Maxi Gomez was the first choice. Sullivan couldn't make that happen. So then they swiftly moved on to the second choice, Haller. He was done relatively quickly. Within a week, he was done.
Yeah.
And again, as much as we can argue about Haller not working out and Anderson not working out and all this other sort of stuff, which we can, and there's obviously questions, you can have that conversation. The point is, when it comes to the transfer itself, we got out there and we got it done. That's the most we've ever been competent at a transfer window. Every other time we have this stupid dance where it comes down to the final day and we're going, right, well, if Coletta Carr doesn't work out, then I guess we're going for John Egan. Or if Nunes doesn't work out, then we're going for Benteke. And if that doesn't work out, we're going for Healy. And it's like this just insane merry-go-round of nonsense that just consistently happens at this club. Even if we signed Coletta Carr and Nunes, it would be a dream for me personally, you still have to sit there and go, this has been an awful window. It does not matter whether we got there in the end or not. We should have got there at the beginning. We've had months to identify these people. And I'm not even putting this at Rob Newman's feet. I'm saying this is at Moyes' feet as well. We have had months to figure this out. We've had a year since Haller left. We've had 2 years since David Moyes came in and he knew he didn't like Haller in the first place. We've had the time to figure out who we want. Why have we not signed anyone until the last day? It makes no sense, Rob. It makes absolutely no sense. And I can't get my head around what we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I'm confident in Coletta Carr. After that, we'll see.
We'll see what happens. Deja vu. I'm fairly sure he plays in the Montenegrin second division. I've got a funny feeling he plays in the Montenegrin second division. Striker. Yeah, there's every chance.
Goal every other game. Big place. Big place. Big place.
Oh dear. But it's so typical West Ham.
I'll let you lot go.
Charlie, appreciate your time, bud.
Thank you for having me on. I'll be watching the chat. So see you later, everyone. Good luck.
Mate. Look after yourself. Yeah.
Keep doing the good fight. You got this, right? You got this. Keep the heart. Right. See you later, everyone.
Take care, buddy.
Take it easy,
mate. Dear. Yeah. As we was talking, like I say, it came through Wout Weghorst because I saw Kent said, "Oh, they've signed a big lump," and I'm thinking, "What? Peter Crouch?" And then I've just flicked it on, and it's like, "Yeah, Wout Weghorst." And this is someone again
Rob?
we was linked with. So
yeah. Peter Crouch. Have you seen the news today?
No.
Little Jermaine.
Oh, going to Sunderland.
Going back to Sunderland.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think that'd be a cracking signing.
Isn't it? Yeah, no, but again, it's almost laughable, isn't it? That you've got. I feel sorry for Sunderland fans. Here they are watching their closest rivals, or say closest rivals. I mean by geographically, they're kind of most hated rivals. Spending, been taking over all this money, and here they are going right. We'll sign someone.
Hang on. Sorry to interrupt. I've just got looking at on Sky Go, and I can't hear what's being said, but it's footage of a certain Jesse Lingard at Old Trafford shaking hands with Michail Antonio and Declan Rice. So I don't know.
Oh, I've missed that. What's the time on your deadline day clock? Counting down.
11:36, 20 seconds.
Okay, I've missed it.
I don't know what was being said because I've got this turned the feed turned right down, but I've just got the visual, and I'm just sort of keeping an eye out for little things as they sort of happen. But I don't know what was being said. I've got to be honest, because at that point I had the volume turned down. Because obviously it gets a bit confusing because I've got obviously the sort of like the stream going, and I've got Sky Sports going. Well, yeah, that's it. That's it. But yeah, I don't know. Could Lingard? Could it?
Listen, it just depends on whether he wants to force that move, Rob. It all comes down to whether he wants to force that move.
How does he force it though? How can he? I mean, he could sit there and
put in a transfer request and
even
forego any funds owed to him. I suppose in a way, I don't know whether that's.
But even then, I mean, they could still turn around and say, "Sorry, the only club that's in for you is West Ham, and there's absolutely no way we're going to sell to a club that could." By you going to, you could potentially get them above us and finish a higher tier European competition, higher in the Premier League, more prize money, blah, blah, blah. And from a PR point of view, it looks absolutely disastrous. I just
But
can't
on
see
on
that
the
it would
on the
happen, even
reverse
if he
of that,
said, I
you can
want the
understand.
transfer.
You can understand why they don't want to do that deal. Just off the back of that, you can understand that
He is Spencer.
if they were to make that deal, when everything goes against them, and we're then going to be looking at a situation where we do finish above them, and we do ourselves a massive favour on that front. That we're kind of looking at a point, or Man U are going to be looking at a point where the fans are going to be looking at them going, well, what the fuck have we just done, kind of thing. So I kind of, in a way, I kind of understand that it makes sense that they don't want to sell into us. I get it. If I was in their shoes or if I was them, that would certainly be something that would be on my mind. That that what if moment. So I get it from a neutral point of view that it's bloody good business. Let's not let him, because obviously he galvanised us when he joined last year, and we played some better football for it. And
Can
if
you
he
see
does
this
come
comment
in,
from Charlie, Duke?
coming back to my screen, hang on. Latest heard on Lingard is he's asked United to let him go on loan to Newcastle. Ralph happy for him to go. United higher ups aren't. We've gone in and try and loan him again since. Listen, as I was just saying there, if I was in United's shoes, by all means, I'd let him go to Newcastle, because Newcastle really aren't any threat to United in the grand scheme of things. So it would make sense from a standpoint of finishing in the league. As I say, he could come into us, galvanise us onto a really good run and a really good finish, to the point that we finish higher than them, and then questions will be asked of United on that front, because why did you let him go? He's galvanised and rah rah rah. He's turned into Pete's rah rah rah. But then him going to Newcastle. But again, Newcastle aren't gonna pay that 12 million quid that United want. I really don't see them going, okay, well, we're buying from you for 10, a player that's out of contract in 5 months' time. We'll buy him off you for 10 million. If we stay up, we'll give you another 12. You're paying 22 million pounds for a player that's out of contract in a few months. I just don't.
Yeah, but if that 22 million quid keeps you in the Premier League, which is worth 150, 180 million pounds a season, there or thereabouts, pays for itself, doesn't it?
It's still a big ask. 22 million quid for a striker, really, that you could get. You could probably go out, buy a player on a permanent deal for 22 million pound that might end up being better than Lingard. Lingard, bring in a youngster or something. Kind of, in my opinion, I'd kind of prepare for the worst, i.e., bringing in some players that are the younger players that bring you back up, for want of a better word. You know what I mean? That'd be where I stood anyway. Yeah. But I mean, hey, listen. At the end of the day, if he ends up going there, I kind of rest my case. We knew where I stood with him. I didn't want him to come back. He kind of turned around and said no before. He'd rather stay and fight for his shot. And listen, I don't judge him on that alone, but he made that decision. Off you go, son, go do. If he came back, I'd welcome him back. Of course I would, but I'm not overly fussed now whether he does or doesn't. I'd rather us focus on getting someone who actually wants to play for the club.
Just looking on
the
Sky Sports News Twitter feed, because I've just looking on the visual as well on Sky Go. 8 minutes ago, this was on Sky Sports News Twitter feed. Benfica have rejected West Ham's bid for striker Darwin Núñez. So I don't know whether this is a second bid, because I was led to believe that there was an initial bid that we've had shunted back. So I don't know. Like I say, this was 8 minutes ago.
I thought a deal was done, and it was down to the player, and the player had rejected us. Again, that was something that I saw on Twitter earlier. So, to be fair,
I don't know if this is just the same story repeated. No, hang on. Yeah, this was 11 minutes ago. Benfica have rejected West Ham's bid for striker Darwin Núñez. The Hammers are considering an improved offer, but a deal looks increasingly difficult given the time left in the window. Again, this is what we was talking about. It's like, why have we left it until this late? We must have identified this guy as a potential target some time ago. So why have we left it so bloody late that we've backed ourselves into a corner? The clock is ticking and we've hit a snag and it's like, oh shit, what do we do now?
Because we're
Christ's
us.
sakes. So and
Because
this
we're
is
us. And
from
listen, it's the same thing over and over again, Rob.
this is from Darmesh Sheth, his Twitter. Benfica reject West Ham United bid for Darwin Núñez. West Ham considering an improved offer, but given time constraints, looking increasingly difficult to do. Am told, as it stands, unlikely to go for Divock Origi. Great. Reece Healy, also not likely. And Ekitike is Newcastle bound. So I think what they're saying there is we ain't signing a striker.
I've just seen Kent's comment, and I'm all over that, Kent. If that's what it is, listen. If that's what it takes, then yeah. Listen, I mean, we'd both be happy with that. We know that. We've had conversations on this over and over again.
Would you take Adebayo over Reece Healy?
Yeah. No disrespect to Reece Healy, but yeah.
He's younger, isn't he? I think he's about 5 years younger. So
yeah, but he also has the stature of a grown man already. So he's only, it's a case of nurturing that talent. But again, it goes back to Rob, what we've said before. We're at a point where we've digged around far too much in this window, and we're now sitting here having this conversation on the fact that, you know what, we've had 31 days to get any of this done, and we're now down to 11 and a half hours, and we're struggling.
Crazy. And like I say, we're a club in European competition. Wolf, why?
We should be.
Why are we?
Should be by the club.
And I mean, somebody said on one of the comments, I'm going to try to see if I can wind it back, because it was, this one, 2 up, 2 down hammers. With the position that we're in, we should be leveraging this. And I was on the Hammers Chat Addicts WhatsApp group that Charlie mentioned earlier, and I'm someone that's a big fan of the New Zealand All Blacks rugby union team. I look at their history and that this is a country that is a population of 4.5 million inhabitants on the edge of the planet, and over the last 120 years, there or thereabouts, have consistently been the best team in probably the most physical sport in the world. And I find it fascinating that is something that can happen. And they've got 15 principles, 15 things that they have as their core and makes them what they are. And that is one of the things, is that one of their mantras is go for the gap. When you're on top of your game, change your game. And it goes on to say, or to put it another way, if you stand still, everyone will pass you by. The All Blacks are always looking for ways to test themselves. Even Daniel Carter admitted that he still had a point to prove when he took the last conversion of his international career with his right foot, because he had never scored with his weaker foot. Constantly strive to improve. Now, that's from the greatest sporting team in existence. And if it's good enough for them, as far as I'm concerned, maybe we should take a leaf out of a book. We're in a position right now in our history of relative strength. We should be leveraging that to get business done, and we're not. Why?
2 words for you. The owners. Buck stops.
But then they're morons.
Yeah. What's your point?
Just that, they're morons.
Yeah, tell me something we didn't know.
But the thing is, though, Duke, you got to speculate to accumulate, haven't you? You have to invest. Now, this isn't them just throwing money away. This is them making an investment in something that they have a stake within, a substantial stake. Now, surely it's incumbent upon them as the custodians of the club to maintain, at the very least, or even better still, push us on to another stage up. I'm not talking about winning the Premier League or anything like that. I'm not that unrealistic, but we were 2 points off of a Champions League finish last season. And let's have it right. You know, and I know that if we finish 7th, 8th this season, which realistically you and me know that for in terms of our history, to finish 6th and 8th in consecutive seasons, we've very seldom done that. So in terms of our history, that would actually be considered quite a good achievement, right? However, can you honestly see exactly this comment? Can you honestly see that Declan Rice stays if we finish 8th?
No,
I don't.
Well, again, I was speaking to someone, and they turned around, and as I mentioned did I mention to you yesterday? I think it was to you I
Probably.
mentioned yesterday.
Go on.
No, it wasn't. I spoke to someone last night here in the pub. Whatever it was. That Declan Rice is mooted to be signing a new contract once they come back from Dubai.
Oh.
Now, I don't know how much of that to believe. I don't know how much of it to take on board. As I say, the guy that told me this was I'll call him an ITK. I don't care. He's in the know, and he works. He works with the players, as I've mentioned to you before. He works with the players at a certain level, and he's worked with Declan Rice for the last couple of years, and he's assured me that Declan Rice will sign a new contract. It's on the table now. There are some clauses in there, some minimum release fees. There are a clause of a minimum release fee based around qualifying for Champions League or winning a trophy. If we don't qualify for Europe, he can go or for Champions League, he can go for this much. If we don't win a trophy by a certain time, he can go for this much, that kind of thing. And I've been assured that he will sign that contract. Now, again, I don't know how much stock to put into this person. I've only met him a couple of times in the pub. But the things that they have told me previously have kind of come to fruition. So I'm, I've got no reason to disbelieve this person. And considering his family name, I think he's got a lot to run on that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
there, don't
I
you?
do.
So,
yes.
So I have no reason for him to
his pedigree in the game is impeccable as far as his family name's concerned.
So I'm kind of intrigued to see what happens and what follows. As I said to you the other day, I was told not to say nothing, but I trusted you enough to come out and tell you, didn't I?
Yep.
So if that again, I can see it being true. I can see them testing the waters, for want of a better word. So we'll have to see what happens today. I don't know whether something might follow up today, but I'd like to see of what I've said or what I was told and I read out earlier. I am curious to see what could come through, and obviously that will kind of set up my stall as to going when I follow through. No, it's not. Trust me.
It isn't, Charlie. It isn't. It's not Sullivan Jr.
It'll be interesting to see what follows through. So obviously, how much stock I put in this man going forward. He has promised me some signings in the pub, though, bringing some legends down. He does work alongside Dixie, Devonshire, Macca, Cotty for charity signings and stuff. So he has said that going from because he only lives around the corner from here, what we'll do is we'll set up a signing in the pool room behind me. And maybe get some players down to do some signings and some auctions and stuff. So hopefully going forward, we're looking at what happens. Again, bear with me.
That's all right.
Carry on. No, I can still talk. I just got to stir.
Just go having a refresh on the Twitter feed. No, it's that is still the last one that's coming about. Nunes. So Wout Weghorst has gone to Burnley, as we've discussed. You heard this about Matt Targett. He's undergoing a medical.
Just reading it along the bottom, mate. Just reading it along the bottom of the screen there. He's got a medical ahead of a move to a loan move to Newcastle. Again, something you and I were discussing off air before, weren't we? That with Genia going there, would that not be a no-brainer move for us to strengthen that position with Masuaku maybe going to Newcastle?
Well, I was going to say, is Matt Target an upgrade on Cresswell? Probably
No,
not.
probably not. But
Is
definitely
he an upgrade on
Matt.
Masuaku? Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So you look at it that way. You are looking at us being in a better place with regards to that, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. Who else has been mentioned in dispatches? Just having a little look here. Fabio Carvalho. Now, he was someone again that we were tentatively linked with, wasn't he, Duke? Because I recollect.
The
young Fulham lad.
Huh?
Yeah. It looks like Liverpool are pushing to get that deal over the line.
He's out of contract in the summer, isn't he? But again, like,
yeah, but
Liverpool,
because of his age, it will go to it'll go to like a tribunal, won't it? Because he's under 23 or whatever it is.
But if you look at the situation, if you were him, yeah, you look at their you're looking at the way Liverpool brought their youngsters through. You look at someone like Phillips. You look at like Jones and Arnold and the rest of them coming through that academy. That used to be West Ham, Rob. That used to be West Ham. If you were a youngster, you'd want to go to Upton Park or you'd want to go to West Ham because you think that'd be the best place to be able to progress your career. How you going? Whereas now, we're looking at a situation where if it's us or Liverpool, I know where I'd go if I was in his shoes. Bear with me.
Yeah, just getting back to this one from you, Ken. Lee Buchanan all day long. I do wonder, though, how Derby's current situation would impact on that deal. Does it make it more or less likely? Because obviously financially they're in the brown stuff. So I suppose if you went in with a bid that was something that was reasonably tempting from a financial standpoint, might be something that they would be persuaded to do business. However, it may well be that Lee Buchanan himself might be thinking, well, actually, I want to try and see if I can help the club at least for the next couple of months to try and get him out of the brown stuff. So I don't know. I think he's a very talented young player, though. Yeah, exactly, because he was apparently considered for the Everton job, and Wayne Rooney died in the wall Evertonian, and yet out of loyalty to the club, he's turned around and said, "I'm staying at Derby." Fair play.
You know what, mate? Fair play to him for that. Like in every way, shape, and form, fair play to him for that. Because he realizes that he's got something he can do there. He realizes, cheers, buddy. He realizes that they're onto something special. I mean, I watched him yesterday, and I thought for 45 minutes, I thought they were outstanding. And the comeback and the goal, I thought the goal was something else. The equaliser last minute. But he's onto something, and I personally think he can keep them up. I think he can do it. I think there's a chance that they just might be able to do it. And I think his stock will rise if he manages to do that. Whereas if he'd gone to Everton and Everton go down, kind of ruined all the hard work he's done at Derby so far. Whereas if he stays at Derby, keeps him up, his stock will rise, and he will be, he'll be a sought after manager based off the back of that. In my opinion, anyway.
You heard this about Arsenal, £75 million Alexander Isak. You heard this one?
Yeah, I saw something this morning when I was sat on my throne. I had a little scroll through Twitter, and I saw something come up. Listen, we know that Arsenal are a club with money because that Wenger refused to spend. We know that stadium. Well, it did. I don't know what the situation is now, but that stadium generated an absolute shit ton of cash in their favour. But Wenger wasn't one to go out and spend. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there really hasn't been a huge number of big money signings at that club. So
I've got a funny feeling their record signing was Nicola Pepe, I think. and he hasn't exactly turned out to be a resounding success.
No. So I reckon there's money to spend, but again, you've got to ask your question: are they an up-and-coming club? Arsenal? Don't get me wrong; they're big in stature with regards to historically, the unbeatables, etc., etc. But again, West Ham's long-term project would be the one. We'll have him on there. So, West Ham's long-term project, Rob, would be the one. So, I'm not saying that we're going to go out and spend 75 million on Isaac, but I can't see him going to, again, hopefully by the end of the window in 11 hours' time, I don't end up having to take my foot out of my mouth. But I can't see him going there personally.
Yeah. Just having a little look here. Anything new come up? Not really. It's all pretty bog standard stuff. Manchester United defender Phil Jones, he snubbed the chance to join Bordeaux on loan. Again, is that a player that maybe interests you, Duke? Phil Jones? I know he's had injury problems, but
no, is the answer, Rob. I wouldn't want Phil Jones anywhere near my club. That's just me. Is he really in the grand scheme of things an upgrade on what we're currently using at centre back? No, I wouldn't say overly. Listen, I know someone mentioned it was either WhatsApp or on Twitter that Diop was an £8 million target for Newcastle today. Have you heard any more on that? I've not seen 8 million. Yeah.
For a player that we signed for what, 22?
20. Yeah. I've not seen nothing, but it came up. I don't know where it was, either in the chat or it was on Twitter. But they're saying that Diop for £8 million. And someone said they'd drive him up there, and then someone said I'd take 8p in a Freddo Frog.
No, I disagree with that. I think he's worth more than 8.
I wouldn't sell him personally. I reckon the boy's still got a chance to come into his own. I reckon. Cheers, buddy. Thank you. I reckon the boy's still got a chance. I know people saying how many chances do you give him, but as many as it needs until he probably hits about 25, 26, or 28. That's when he should be at his peak. If he's not, he's all coming into his peak. If he's not there, then by all means let him go. But I personally, I wouldn't be selling him because I don't think you're going to go out and get a better upgrade for less than what we paid for him, or around the same as what you're going to get for him. So
yeah, I think 8 million's a bit light. I think if it was nearer, I think probably if we were going to make a loss on him, I'd probably go no less than 15, absolutely no less than 15 million in my view. But 8 million, no, forget it. And I'm not saying he's been a resounding success. I thought he had a great first season. I thought he was really good that first season under Pellegrini. What, we finished 10th,
and he shows he can then.
Yeah. I mean, don't forget he had Mourinho looking at him and going, "How the hell have we missed this player?"
He called him a monster, didn't he?
Yeah. So he's got the capability. It's just the thing is he just lacks consistency
and the application of it in the most important of times. As we've said, as we've said many times before on this, in match reviews, right? He tends to switch off at the most inopportune moments, and you're like, the game in the Europa League where I think it was it Genk away?
Yeah.
And we were discussing that he kind of switched off, turned his back to the man he was meant to be blocking, and the guy ran through and put the ball in the back of the net. Now, again, is it something Moyes can work on? Yeah, I think it is. Is it something that as a club we can work on to try and get the better out of the guy, best out of the guy? I'd like to think yes, but again, we don't see what he does every day in training. Is there a lack of application in training? Is there a lack of desire and drive in training for him to become the best he can be? That sounds a bit like some sort of Marine Corps comment there, but he's obviously not. He obviously, there's something going on behind the scenes, very much a la Ben Rama-esque that we were discussing last season on many occasions. We don't see what goes on behind the scenes. Is there an application problem? Is there something that he's just a lazy bastard? We don't know. We don't have an answer on this, and we probably never will.
I agree with that one from Andrew about Odebeko. I did sort of think when he came through the door, well, if he was that good, why has he left Manchester United? Because I remember someone else leaving Manchester United and turning up at West Ham. And don't get me wrong, he actually made quite a big impact in Ravel Morrison. But if you've left Manchester United, there's probably a reason.
And then even then, yeah, but Ravel Morrison, although he hit the ground running, he was fantastic at West Ham, Rob, he still didn't live up to his potential.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Didn't go and do, did he? Which is, although, like you say, I saw a couple of comments as I've been pottering around in the pub. I've kind of come back and had a look at some comments. And people saying, there's Moyes. It was only just a minute ago. Someone put, "Does Moyes not trust our youngsters?" And the question is, for me, or the answer to that is, I don't think he does.
But I
does.
definitely don't think he does, because you look at the position that we've been in defensively. I mean, just go back to the last game at London Stadium in the Europa League. That was Dinamo Zagreb, wasn't it?
Yep.
Young Manny Longello, I think a lot of people said, was the man of the match, and he hasn't been seen on the bench, let alone in the starting 11. He hasn't even been on the bench in a first team game since, to the best of my recollection. And I sort of sit there and go, well, hang on a minute. If that's a guy that by common consensus was man of the match in a European game, all right, it was a dead rubber, I get that, but he had a good game, and he's not been seen since.
Is it a situation though, then, Rob? Yes, sorry, hang on, Rob. You've got two tens. I can do that for you. If I go on the phone, Alex and Sarah. Yeah. Now, they want the number done up in the lottery all the time. Yeah. Carry on doing them, or
just having a little look down some of these stories, anything that's catching my eye. So
up to you. You're
Newcastle.
You're the
loan deal
Rob,
for Dean Henderson. But it says here hopes of them signing Jesse Lingard are over. I personally think he's going to stay at Old Trafford. I think he's going to leave on a free in the summer. Whether he comes to us is another matter. I'd welcome him. I know some people have a problem with the fact that, and I think, I can't remember if someone said it in the chat, that he could have come to us in the summer. And he didn't. So tough titty sort of thing. Trying to find it. Oh yeah, here we go. Spencer. Yeah, Lingard's fault, could have come last summer. You could take that view, Spencer, and you might be right. The only thing I would turn around and say is, if you put yourself in his shoes, he's a Manchester United fan. He's umming and ahhing. Do I stay? Do I move out? Blah blah blah. And as he's standing there, in walks Cristiano Ronaldo, who growing up was his big hero. And I think he's probably got a little bit sort of starry-eyed and got a little bit sentimental and thought to himself, well, I've got the opportunity to work with one of the all-time greats. Probably what he didn't consider is the fact that Cristiano walking through the door made any chance of him getting game time actually slimmer still than it already was. And it was pretty damn thin as before he walked through the door. So, but I don't blame him. That's the funny thing. I don't blame him. I can kind of get it. As a fan,
what do you put yourself if you're Jadon Sancho, though, mate? On that note, talking about Ronaldo walking through the door, how do you feel if you were Jadon Sancho? Because your big £73 million move to United really isn't going to plan, because they're trying to shoehorn Ronaldo into the team, and I really do believe that. Listen, the guy scored 12, 13 goals this season.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them have been tap-ins. We're all still waiting for that worldie that we all know that Ronaldo's capable of.
Yeah, but he's not the same player that he was. He's
no, and if
you
were Jadon Sancho, you've got to be sitting there being a bit pissed off, and you just made a big £75 million. You were the marquee signing up until that point. You were the marquee signing. It was you, and now they've gone. Oh. City went, we're showing some interest in signing Ronaldo, and United went, no, you fucking ain't.
Yeah. And just on that point, Spence, you're right. Lingard was wrong. The facts have been bared out. He has hardly played. But I don't blame him for getting a little bit starry-eyed, a little bit sort of hero worship and all the rest of it, and trying to sort of like make a go at his boyhood club alongside his idol growing up. I don't blame him for that. It's gone wrong. It's gone tits up for him. But I don't feel sorry for him as such, because I just sort of look at it and go, well, he can leave on a free in the summer. He'll have his pick of clubs. He'll be able to pick up a bigger wage. He'll be able to negotiate his signing on fee. I mean, people turn around and say, oh, it's a World Cup year. Well, the World Cup's not till November. So if he goes to another club in July 1st,
Mixes it up, yeah.
plays the pre-season, starts the season well, he could still go to the World Cup. The fact that he's not going to get games between now and the end of the season, very likely, I don't think it's detrimental too much to his playing chances. If he hits the ground running from August onwards, he could still go to the World Cup.
Feasibly, he could still end up going and playing in the World Cup. Yeah, with that.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that, Spence. Lingard's best football was with us, 100%. Don't disagree with that statement either. Whether he will hit those heights again, where in the remainder of his career, we'll see. Yeah, I was he lied to by Ole? I wasn't in the room, but there's noises that Ole turned around and said, "Oh yeah, I'll give you the game time," blah blah blah, and he didn't. And obviously, he's then been replaced, and obviously the guy that's coming in, he's under no obligation to play Lingard, no matter what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said. So,
but it seems like they're under an obligation, Rob, to play Ronaldo. I know he was dropped for a couple of games to the bench, but is there
that's probably more a commercial thing, though, isn't it, Duke? That's probably more to do with sort of like image rights and money and sponsorship. And yeah.
And again, if you are Lingard and/or Sancho and/or, well, I've already mentioned his name once already, Mason Greenwood, or even Anthony Martial, who's now gone out on loan. If there is something there because of that commercial value, and that's the only reason that Ronaldo's getting into the team, because let's be honest, he hasn't set the world alight. I know what you're saying, he's 37, blah, blah, blah. But there's a point on, to a point where you're going, is he actually good enough to start every game for United? And I personally don't think I've seen anything that warrants him starting every game, mate. I really don't. And obviously I'm not a United fan, so I don't see these games in and out. Yeah. I can only really say what I've watched and what I've seen on telly. Especially since I've been here, I can't say that I've seen anything that I've seen that warrants him starting over the likes of Martial, Sancho, Greenwood, Lingard, or so it's the same as Pogba. This guy's an £80 million player. How but they're quite willing to turn around and go, no, dropped, because he hasn't been good enough, and make him work his way back into the club. It seems like the ego that is Cristiano Ronaldo, that he can have a couple of mares and still be the first name on the team sheet, which again, as we've mentioned before, if you're someone the likes of Nikola Vlasic and you've got Ben Rama, Fornals, Lanzini, Bowen, in and around that you're fighting for your position with them, and you've got someone like Antonio who's not got anyone to compete with, you're going to be pissed off in the same way that if you're Sancho, that when you're Sancho and the rest, and Ronaldo's playing games that conceivably would see him dropped because he's not being good enough, he still gets on the team sheet because of his name, you're going to start asking questions. And for me, regardless of whether Lingard was like to, regardless of whether Sancho, etc., I'm miffed by the fact that Ronaldo still starts. And if I was Lingard, I'd be out the door tomorrow. I know he's asked to leave and go on loan to. He's asked to go on loan to Newcastle now. I fully understand that, and I fully respect that, because I think he now realises that his time at Newcastle, his time at Man United has come to an end, and he probably feels like he's had the piss taken out of him a little bit.
You still shaking back?
You know my stand on this. If he comes back, I'd welcome him. I'm at a point now where, you know what, it's turned us down. I really have no time nor interest for him, mate, to be honest with you. I'm pretty much at a point where I'm quite happy for him not to be there.
Yeah, fair enough. Just looking at this one from Kieran, why does every team, even Burnley, sign players much easier than we do? And this is the team that's struggling against relegation, and we're a team that's in Europe. Why?
They do their due diligence, and they find out whether a player wants to come. They then talk to the agents. They then talk to the club. They talk to the club. They talk to the agents. They get a deal done because they do all of that groundwork first. I guarantee you, they sold Chris Wood just over a week ago. 2 weeks ago, I guarantee you they identify Weghorst as being the player that they wanted to go get, and by the way, he will do really well there. They identified him, they went and got him. They sounded out the move with his agent, tested the water with the club. Would you be interested in selling? What would it cost? They've been given a price. They've then gone to Weghorst's agent and asked Weghorst's agent, let me get that off the camera. There we go. TV. They've then asked Weghorst's agent, would he be interested in a move? Yeah, Weghorst's agent's gone and asked the question. Weghorst has gone, yeah, I want to play in the Premier League. Okay, gone back to the club. How much is it going to cost us? This, okay, there's the money. We know he wants to join. So what are your terms? Terms have been discussed. They already knew he wanted to join. So it's just a case of finding that common ground, and they've gone and done that. It's something that we fundamentally cannot do. I don't know what the situation is. You know, we went to Lingard, back in August, and went, do you want to join? He went, no, I'd rather stay and fight. Rather than going, okay, cheers, Jesse, take care, we're on to the next one. We've gone, yeah, but Jesse, please. But Jesse, please, Jesse, please. We're still focused. We're still focused on Jesse Lingard for some reason, rather than going. Same as El Nesri. We went, El Nesri, do you want to come and play for us? He said no. But please. And we were still being linked with him after he'd said no. I don't get why we just can't. Right, okay. El Nesri said no. What's next? Who's
Move
next
on.
the?
Yeah.
Let's go see. Are his club willing to sell? Are his club willing to sell? How much do you want for him? 76 million. That's a bit much for us. Would you take like 45 now, and maybe if we qualify for Champions League, etc., then go talk to the player. If he's interested in coming, fantastic, move forward with a deal. If he's not, move on. I just don't understand why we just seem to be obsessed with that one player. And Moyes, this is Moyes. This isn't anyone else at that club. Moyes has his heart set on a player. I want that player. If that player doesn't come, I'm not going to sign anyone else. That's on Moyes. That is fully sitting in his lap. And until that changes, we're not going to move to the next level, Rob. We're really not.
Yeah. You heard this one about Todd Cantwell?
No, tell me.
Bournemouth.
I've not seen anything come up on what?
Looks like he's going to Bournemouth.
Again, poor man's Conor Gallagher. Gone to his top. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, he's a poor man's Conor Gallagher, but he's still a good player. That tells you how good he is. Why are we not moving for this guy? Why are we not even making a consideration? Because again, if Phillips is a no-go, which we feel Phillips is going to be a no-go, is Cantwell an upgrade on Krau? Well, I can't really tell you too much because I haven't seen enough of Krau. But if it's a permanent signing, he's still young and we could still do a job with it. So for me, that would be a no-brainer. Why is he? I know his team are about to get relegated, but why is he dropping down a division when he could probably still do a job for pretty much anyone from the top 10 down?
Dropping down a division, but it's a team that's very likely to be next season in the Premier League, I guess. So
yeah, but he doesn't have
he's
to
leaving
do
a
that,
team
Rob.
that isn't.
But then he's going to be in the same position in 12 months' time, would you not think?
Possibly.
Unless Bournemouth have a massive influx of money to be able to spend on players, is it something that's going to happen? Is it something that will he find himself in 12 months' time having the same conversation? I really think probably. So for me, if he can pick, he could pick Brentford, he could pick Burnley, he could pick any of those teams in that, like I say, from 10th place down and still do a job as such for them. So I just feel that there's, he's got so much more potential. I'd like to do it again. I'd love to see us make a move for him the right amount of money. And to be fair, it probably wouldn't be a huge amount because he's in a team that looks like they're about to go down. That is definitely you could let him go. Yeah, Kiefer Moore as well. Which again, I saw something about how many goals he's scored so far this season. I'm thinking a Premier League team probably even us missing the trick slightly.
Have you seen this one about? Let me find it. Because obviously we've been linked with Rafinha of Leeds. What are your thoughts on Rafinha as a player? Have you heard this about? It looks like Chelsea are interested, but it looks like that wouldn't be something that they would pursue actively until the summer.
Yeah, listen, Rafinha's a smashing player, mate. I've got a lot of time for him as a player. I mean, he absolutely fucking worked wonders for Leeds against us the other week. He came off the bench in the cup game. He played the league game against us, and he was something else. Let's not mess around. He was an absolutely outstanding player. I can understand why Chelsea want him, but again, what is it with Moyes thinking he can turn every single winger on the planet into a striker? What is the situation there?
He likes a challenge.
Yeah, but I'm at a point where I don't want a challenge anymore. I want a striker. I'm getting really frustrated and annoyed with that situation.
Who do you think, if I put you in the hot seat, Duke?
Yeah.
Where we are right now and the way that the world, the landscape is at the minute, who would you get in?
Realistically, considering we're a club fighting for Europe, considering we're a club that supposedly has a bit of cash in the sense of that Krasinski's coming, I get we're still a significant chunk of change in debt. But mate, if the Calvin Phillips thing has got legs, I'd be all over that. Like seriously, be all over that.
No, I'm talking as a striker.
For me right now, I would go back in for Darwin Núñez. I'm hearing a lot of good things about him. Not someone I knew. I won't lie to you, not someone I knew of when I woke up this morning. Just because, obviously, as we know, my knowledge lies in and around the Bundesliga. Karim Adeyemi would be ideal for me. The other young lad that plays in Germany. My brain's gone dead with him, but he had scored a significant number of goals in Champions League. I think he's worth about 50 or 60 million quid. He's only a kid. But
who's he play for?
Don't ask me questions. I'd have to go on and have another look.
Your brain's gone.
Brain's gone frazzled. I'm still doing a lot of things for work here at the minute as well. I thought I said Burnley are discussing a percentage of Aubameyang's wages. It said both clubs.
Burnley?
Jesus Christ. Thinking, I thought that's what it said. Yeah, for Aubameyang. Try that one again. So yeah, my choices would be I'd go back in for this Núñez fella. He sounds good. Adeyemi seems like a really cracking. As we know, I've banged the drum about him. But Gabriel Barbosa. I know people are banging on about his. I know people. Listen, if he knows where the back of the net is, I get that people are banging on about his attitude. Might be something that Moyes can change it or get the best out of, and I really would. But it's that the first thing we were discussing when we came online earlier. It's that 18-month loan deal. Like what? Where did that come from?
Yeah,
18-month loan deal. So what you're saying is
you want him special. Yeah,
you want him till June, then you want him till the following June, and then I try before you buy. Is like that's a long try before you buy though.
Yeah,
like,
6 months you might go. Maybe that's a higher. Maybe
purchase.
That's got legs. Yeah, I think if they was to have said 6 months, rest of this season, option to buy, this is the price we'll agree. Maybe his parent club would have gone. Go on then. But 18?
We literally turned into Rumbelows, Rob, haven't we? We've turned into Rumbelows.
Radio rentals.
Yeah, that's what we've done. It's, or we're actually, like one of the catalogues. It's going to cost you 20p a week for the next 247 years or something stupid like that. That's essentially what we're trying to do,
The Taliban.
which is embarrassing. Yeah, which is embarrassing considering that we're top 6 in the top 5 in the Premier League at the minute. And here we are going.
Hello. Here's one.
Go on, what we got?
6 minutes ago, Sky Sports News Twitter feed, Aaron Ramsey has been told he can leave Juventus, but will he return to the UK? Where might he go? Would you take Aaron Ramsey?
Oh, yes. All day long. I think he's an outstanding player. I was very surprised.
He'd want a lot of money, though, wouldn't he? He wouldn't come cheap.
Play the game with him, Rob. You know my take on this. You know where I stand with regards to incentive-based wages. You know where I stand on this. That'd be exactly where I'd go with that stuff. I'd make sure that he knew that he's on 50 grand a week, granted. But then you kind of go, here's this incentive, here's another 25 grand if is 5 grand an assist, is 5 grand a goal. You give these players a reason to earn some money.
Just
Jesus
looking here,
Christ,
Wolves are apparently in for him.
So Burnley, Ken's just said that Burnley are heavily linked with Ramsey, but have you just seen that comment there from Spencer?
He's because he went there on a free from Arsenal, so he negotiated a really big wage and all the rest of it, which is completely fine.
There's contract, which I've got no problem with, but then there's taking the piss, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that's what he's done there. And as Brooke says,
again, I don't blame him. He's gone there on a free, and he's gone, or his agent's gone 400k a week, and they've gone, yeah, all right. For an injury-prone player who on his day is a fantastic player, but he is quite injury-prone. And what is he? He must be about 30 now, isn't he?
Shall we have a look? Shall I have a Googler?
Just having a look at this from David. Heard from TalkSport. Sorry if you've already mentioned it, but Simon spoke about an article 15 years ago, catching out Sullivan for fake bids. Looks like he's still doing it. It's just to look like he's showing ambition. I'll be honest, David, I hadn't heard this story, but it doesn't shock me. It doesn't shock me. I turned around on a I think it was on the Hammers Chat WhatsApp group that I'm on, and I said, oh, it's a bit like walking into a Tesla garage with 500 quid and saying to your missus that you tried and they wouldn't negotiate with you. That is, isn't it? We tried, and we tried to haggle them down, and we tried to do this, but they told us to fuck off.
And
he's 31. Thanks,
you can't blame him, can you?
No, it's just like I say. I appreciate that they want to get the best deal, and it's like coming back to the Gabigol one. As soon as I heard an 18-month loan, I was like, "Oh, you're taking the piss." I mean, let's be honest. They wouldn't take it. They wouldn't take it. If someone came in and said, "Can we take Declan Rice on an 18-month loan with an option to buy?" They'd be, "Oh, fuck off. Let's get real, shall we?" So, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You know what I mean? What goes around comes around. I just don't get it. But yeah, exactly that, Spence. Yeah. Oh well, we tried. Yeah, it's the same old. Exactly what David alluded to there on that earlier comment. But what else we got? So we got Aaron Ramsey. As I say, he's been linked with Wolves on loan. It says here though, it's not a permanent. So I don't know why. I'm looking at a story here now. Bear in mind, I'm looking on the Sky Sports deadline day page, and for some very strange reason, I'm guessing someone hasn't proofread this. For some very strange reason, it says something about Justin Langer who, if you don't know who he is, he's an Australian cricket coach. So why this is on this particular page, I'm not quite sure. But there you go. Arsenal appear to have missed out on the signing of Romania sensation Kevin Kubotaru. No idea. And he's going to join the academy at Rangers. Fair enough. Newcastle are looking to sign 2 other players on deadline day. Matty Target, who we know is obviously having a medical as we broadcast. Eddie Nketiah. Now, Duke, this is someone that you were quite a fan of. I don't know if can you still hear me, Duke, or you pulling your pints? Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Kent. Aaron Ramsey, 31 and injury prone and on an awful lot of money. If he was 5 years younger, I'd say maybe if there was any way we could negotiate a wage. 31, no chance. No chance. But just saying there, Duke, and about Newcastle apparently are also linked with Eddie Nketiah. Now, I know you're a bit of a fan of his. And actually, I think, if I remember rightly, he's from where you are now.
You might be right. Who've been linked with him, sorry?
Newcastle.
Yeah, again, listen, they're going to be throwing money left, right, and centre. And bearing in mind that the lad's out of contract in June, or the end of June, it would make sense that they're obviously looking. Obviously, he can't negotiate a contract, can he? Unless it's a foreign club, isn't it? He can't negotiate a pre-contract.
Pre-contract, yeah.
So he either waits until January, until July to negotiate a better contract for himself, or Arsenal actually, accept a bid and he moves on. But again, for the fact that we don't have a striker, Rob, he'd be a man he's a man I'd be all over to bring in. I think he's a great player. I've got a lot of time for him. I'd certainly be interested in seeing if you could test Arsenal's resolve as to how much they'd accept for him. Would you look at it and go, okay, I want to sign him for 13 million quid, 14 million quid. Arsenal turn around and say, no, you wait until the summer. Again, it's one of those ones where are Arsenal going to let him go? And he ends up firing us to be in a position that's higher than Arsenal in the league. It's not just about the money that comes in from the sale. It seems to be that there's a lot of politics on. Okay, if we give him a bit like Chelsea, in fact, there you go. I'm going to throw this one out there again. A bit like Chelsea. When Chelsea came into all the Abramovich money, they went out and bought all the best players, and I stand by this. They went out and bought all the best players from the other Premier League clubs that were keeping these clubs in and around. And you're looking at Scott Parker at Charlton. You're looking at Sidwell at Reading. You're looking at Joe Cole, Frank Lampard, Glenn Johnson from us.
Just sorry to interrupt, Duke. You might be interested in this one. This is from Fabrizio Romano's Twitter feed. Midfielders domino set to be completed. Rodrigo Betancourt has signed his contract with Tottenham. 19 million euros plus a 6 million euro fee. Here's the one that you might be interested in, though. Whilst Dennis Zakaria has completed his medical with Juventus. Juve now have an agreement with Rangers for Ramsey on loan. Juve have an agreement with Rangers. Oh. For Aaron Ramsey on loan with an option up to Aaron Ramsey now. So he could be going to Scotland. Well, I'd imagine that Juve would be paying a fair chunk of his wages because there's no way Rangers are going to be able to afford 400k a week in the Scottish Premiership.
No, I mean, Rob, don't get me wrong, at 31, that'd be a great move for him. Let's be honest,
just a bit.
And that'd be a great move for Rangers. If Ramsey goes to Rangers, that's a huge move for him. Because it's for both actually, because that puts them. What's been said? I'm away from the camera.
Arrived 66. Apparently, we were looking at a few yellow label deals in M&S. Steak and kidney pies are in the running.
When do they go out of date? That's the question. When do they go out of date, Rob? Because I might enter the bidding for one of them. I'm quite hungry at the minute.
Yeah.
No, as I was saying, it'd be a good move. The title race up there is, from what I understand, is quite close again. And a signing of Ramsey's quality would be good for Rangers, and it'd be a good deal for him. He might end up coming away from a career with another medal or a medal, depending on, you know what I mean. So, you know, at the end of the day, that's what you play football for, isn't it? Regardless of where you play, is to win titles and trophies and medals and stuff. So, be interesting. But it'll be interesting to see how long that finds its way onto the Sky Sports banner. To be honest with you, really will be interesting to see how long. Because obviously Romano's quite he's a reputable source, isn't he? So I mean, I'd be interested, like I say, I'd be interested to see just how quickly that ends up on the.
Well, his next tweet is about Hugo Ekitike. It says he could fly to England in the next few hours to be ready for a potential move to Newcastle. Clubs are getting closer to a full agreement. Reims want a percentage on future sale clause included. Fit 25 million euros plus bonuses bid on the table. I haven't seen this guy play, but I've heard a lot of people that have said this guy is shit hot. Why are we not hijacking this?
Makes you think that it's not Newcastle hijacking here. So I said earlier. Well, from what I understand, the initial bid from Newcastle included a quite a large clause that when Newcastle win the Champions League, which is why they turned it down. They turned it down on the back of the fact that they put in a clause that said, you know, we'll give you an extra, 15, 20 million quid if we win the Champions League, or when we win the Champions League. And according to the story that I read, is that Prince went, no, you're all right, I don't see it happening, so we can't wait that long for the money. So they removed that clause, and they wanted it, I think it was something like 27 million euros, 24 million quid or something like this, in guaranteed cash up front. None of this across the course of 26 years.
Yeah,
20, it was either 24 or 27 million quid in cash, with up to or 10.6 million pound in achievable add-ons. That was the only deal that is it Rennes? Yeah, Rennes would have accepted for where his name is. Ekitike. Yeah, I've got it in the end. Ekitike. Yeah, them words. So that was the only deal that they were willing to. The only deal that they were willing to accept was those figures that I've just said. So again, like you've said, why are we not jumping in on this? Is it too much? Have we not got that sort of cash to blow out in one hit? Have we not got that sort of money to turn around and go? He's 28 million quid. Listen, if not being funny, if what I've been told is true, and Kuczynski's willing to bankroll a 50 to 75 million pound bid for Calvin Phillips, surely there's money sitting there. Surely 25 million quid.
Well, it's 25 million euros, isn't it? I think.
It was either between 24 and 27 million pounds. It was pounds. It was either 24 or 27 million pounds. But again, mate, that's not a huge money for a top six football club.
And he's what, 21?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Crazy. There's just one here that's caught my attention. This was an hour ago, admittedly, but it says that Van der Beek has successfully completed his medical, and he's now signing his new contract as an Everton player. It's a loan. It's not a permanent. It's a loan fee, and Everton are paying his full salary. But interestingly, this rings a few bells, because this was the same with the Jesse Lingard deal. There's no option to buy.
Yeah, because again, if he has a great season, they don't want to have that set in at a set price. If you turn around and go, okay, Donny van der Beek to Everton, option to buy on a fee of, let's say, 30 million quid, 25 million quid, and he absolutely goes there, tears it up like Lingard did for us, and all of a sudden you're in a position as the selling club where you don't have a choice to renege back on that deal. You have to go through with it. All of a sudden you're selling a player for 25, 30 million quid, but the player's actually been a revelation there, and you could probably, and other clubs would have been, if you think other clubs might have been sniffing around for 45, 50 million, you kind of shot yourself in the foot. And that's the case with Donny van der Beek, I think, personally. I think he's an amazing player. I think he's an outstanding talent, and I don't see why he hasn't. I don't understand why he hasn't fulfilled his destiny with United. But yeah, it's just ridiculous. It really is. We're sitting here at the moment, a top 5 club. We're sitting here discussing players going to other clubs, but not coming to ours.
Yeah. Just looking down here again, this was a story that was from north of the border, the Daily Record. And this was the reason I'm mentioning this is a player that, again, was given, there was links to us a little way back, not so much recently, but Alfredo Morelos, remember him?
What's his name?
Rangers
striker, yeah.
Yeah. Looks like he's going to Fenerbahce for 7 million quid, possibly.
Prone to a red card or so.
He likes getting his marching order. He likes an early bath, doesn't he?
Yeah, listen, bit like Jermaine Defoe when we got relegated.
yeah. Oh, and saying about Defoe, obviously, because he looks like he's going back to Sunderland, possibly. Again, from the Daily Record, Neil Lennon is one of the front runners to replace Lee Johnson, who was sacked as Sunderland manager. It went well for him at Bolton last time he was south of the border managing. I'm sure what could possibly go wrong.
I mean, listen, if Defoe goes there as player manager, it makes sense. But again, it's one of them, Rob, that how many games is he going to play at the age he's at? Do you know what I mean?
Moyes is going to convert Diop to a striker as he's not really a centre half. That's harsh. Possibly true, but
I mean, cheers, buddy. Thank you. But then I was at the point last year, Rob, where I felt that Diop would make a better CDM than he would a centre back. You know, his ball carries. He's confident enough on the ball when moving forward. You take him out of a position where he's going to get kind of harassed and harried, put under pressure, where a mistake still has players behind him, not necessarily just the keeper. You know, it might do his confidence a world of good, but obviously that never came to fruition. I still think it would be a bad shout, personally, but that's that's not down to me. I can't make that decision for Moyes, you know.
Ooh, hang
on. There's only about 6 people in it.
Just saw something flash across. I'm just going to wait for it to scroll back because there was a name there that I saw that scrolled across just literally as I flicked back onto Sky Go. And I'm just going to wait for it to come back round because it mentions something about Nat Phillips, who again is a player that has been linked with us, and I'd be interested in him. I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I think he would be. Would he be an upgrade on what we've got? Yeah, I think so. And there's also this question mark over Ogbonna. Is he gonna come back? And if he does come back, will it be the same Angelo Ogbonna that before the injury? I'm not entirely convinced. So
listen, you don't
be interested in him, but
back.
No.
After that sort of injury, Rob, you
especially not at that age.
And that was going to be my next point. You know, he's done was it his ACL?
Yeah.
So he's done his ACL, which was very much a Gaza-esque injury.
Bournemouth, seriously.
I'll give up, Rob. If he goes Bournemouth, I'll give up. Especially on loan, I'll give up.
Seriously,
listen, we ain't a threat to Liverpool, are we? Really?
No.
So why are we not testing the water?
They're going to be top 3. That's not a problem. Just waiting for it to scroll back. Oh, you are. It is. It's bloody a deal with Liverpool to sign Nat Phillips on loan. Again, why the fuck are we not going in and getting that deal done? Seriously.
Because it's us. Because it's us. We've not identified. Listen, you, me, Walshy, both Walshies, Ken, everyone. We can identify these players. Well. We can identify them because I say we've got the time to identify these players, but I don't even believe that that's true because we all have work and everything else. Yet we can identify these players. We can see these players. We can see what they do. We're not paid thousands of pounds a week by the club to do this. Yet here we are going that player, that player, that player, that player, that player. Yeah. We know that there'll be an upgrade on anything we've got. And let's be honest, other than probably Karim Adeyemi, of the names that I've mentioned so far, they're all reasonable targets, Rob. And Karim Adeyemi, I'm only saying he's a reasonable target because if other clubs like, Liverpool's, your Madrid, if these clubs came in, then realistically he's not coming to West Ham. But the rest of them, the likes of Phillips, he's going to Bournemouth on loan. The likes of Donny van der Beek, the likes of Christian Eriksen, these players are going to clubs. Filippo Coutinho, for instance, they're going to clubs that I consider, and again, this might come back and bite me in the arse a little bit, this comment. I consider Newcastle with this they're beneath us in not only positioning in the league, but in terms of stature, history, blah, blah, blah. Surely, if we went in for these players that are an upgrade on any of the players that we currently have in certain positions, they'd come to us, wouldn't they? If we went in for Nathaniel Phillips, he'd want to come to West Ham rather than go Bournemouth, unless he's on for he'd be first choice centre back alongside Zuma, surely over the other two.
Yeah,
I'm not losing my mind there.
Crazy. Just seen something that's caught my attention. Let me just go back to it. 2 minutes ago, French football expert Jonathan Johnson on Transfer Talk. Layvin Kurzawa has attracted interest from a number of Premier League clubs over the course of the month. However, Paris Saint-Germain are looking to get rid of at least one member of the senior squad before the window shuts. Pochettino admitted that at least one member of the senior squad would miss out on the Champions League squad should the number of players available to him remain the same. Kurzawa looks to be the most realistic to leave. Newcastle have shown an interest, and obviously they seem to be on the verge of snapping up Matt Targett. And West Ham have also been strongly linked with him of late.
Sorry, Rob, who was that for? I missed that.
Layvin Kurzawa, who I believe is a left back.
Defender, isn't he? Yeah. Again, is he an upgrade on Masuaku? Yes.
Oh, God,
I don't know about whether is he an upgrade on Cresswell. Again, I don't know. I don't know too much about him, so I couldn't possibly comment on that front. But if it's an upgrade on our bench, then surely it's got to be a no-go to go for, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
he was mentioned in the summer as well. I remember doing a transfer talk on it when I was down in Cornwall in August, and his name was mentioned. I did a quick recording on him then, and he's still linked according to this piece, and obviously Matt Targett's going to Newcastle, so it doesn't look like Newcastle's a route for him. Possibly us.
Again, we're an upgrade on some of these clubs. In fact, sorry, unless you're talking Chelsea, Liverpool, and City, maybe Man United at the moment, top four, and then us in fifth. The rest of them are beneath us in the league. Other than probably Arsenal in terms of big club stature. So I certainly wouldn't consider Spurs to be in that sense of the word, a bigger club than us. So yes, all right, they've got cup pedigree, they've got European pedigree, etc. But again, recently it hasn't been great for them. Whereas we're showing the last two seasons that we have a good future ahead of us. Why are we not considering some of these players? I'm not saying, listen, Matt Target is definitely an upgrade on Masuaku all day long. So why Newcastle?
I'm an upgrade on Masuaku.
Yeah, fair enough. Lingard, a wonder horse, was an upgrade on Masuaku. But again, we're looking at a situation where we're going, why are we not targeting some of these players? I'm not being funny. Matt Target, pardon the pun, would be a player I'd be interested in, and I think Moyes would be as well, because I think his attitude's correct. I haven't seen anything about Matt Target in newspapers or comments on that front that prove him to be a problematic person in the dressing room. Do you see what I mean? So I don't understand why, unless these players go into Newcastle, and I include Trippier in this. Chris Wood must have been rubbing his hands together at just the prospect of a big ass payday. Let's be fair. But you're not going to Newcastle for football. You might go to Newcastle for the challenge and for the project possibly, but you're going there for money in the grand scheme of things.
And I don't actually have a problem with people going there for money, because why do you do the job you do? Why do I do the job I do?
Get that.
Because money.
Well, in football, pretty much it's more to do with not to do with winning trophies, mate. I mean, I think I mentioned this a while back on the channel. We were talking about someone like Scott Sinclair. He left Man City because he wasn't good enough to play for Man City. He goes up to Celtic. He wins golden boots. He wins trophies. He has the chance of playing in Europe against the likes of Barcelona, etc., etc. Then what happens when he comes back down south? He ends up playing for Preston North End. That's no disrespect to Preston North End, but it just shows you the quality of what came before, doesn't it? Really? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Here's one from Walshy for you. Would you take a Sullivan Salthouse special?
Mate, I'll take 6 right now. Like, honestly.
Wellington Paulista?
Mate, I'll take anything just to have some sort of excitement that our name comes up on that big yellow banner saying that we signed someone or another player. Mate, they could end up absolutely ballsing things up and end up signing a Savio and Sorrento, and I'd still be quite happy to got a player through the door.
No.
I'd take a TT Kamara right now, just so we've got a player for the door holding the shirt up, just so we can say we did something in this window. Because right now we look like a fucking embarrassment.
Here's one for you, just to diverge off of transfer talk. Neil Harris has been appointed manager of, well, he's manager of our local Kent club, Gillingham.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, Steve Evans was sacked on the 9th of Jan. I was aware that they played at the weekend. I can't remember who they were playing against, but there was a player on the opposition that scored 4 penalties, if you please. 4 penalties.
Was it a former Liverpool player?
I can't remember who it was, to be honest. I thought, was it Oxford they were playing? I can't remember. But they got absolutely hammered at home. I think it was like 6-2, 7-2, whatever it was. And 4 of the goals were penalties. The player scored 4 penalties. Just, same player. You'd have thought after he got the hat-trick, he'd have turned around to the goalkeeper and gone, tell you what, mate, you have it. Would you take Marco Boogers?
Yeah, I would.
Is he still sort of in a caravan?
In a caravan. Listen, you're not being very nice to Marco Boogers there, Robert.
Yeah, but come on, I'm probably being accurate. I'm probably being very accurate. Having a little. Oh, here's one, and this is a player that Gonzo will be all over, I'm sure, because he's got the surname Dembele. Ousmane Dembele. There's a story about him here. He says he won't join PSG this month.
I think he's waiting for Chelsea. I really do. Chelsea would know. Listen, I've got to go get my other earpiece. Give me a second.
Yeah, no worries. Just having a little look down some of the news pieces here. Luke, hope you're well, mate. Thanks for joining us. What we got here? So, Leon business hints at changes coming this summer. This was around about 21 minutes past midday. Jonathan Johnson, who is a French football expert on Sky Sports Transfer Talk, says that Tanguy and Ndombele to Lyon is one that should be completed in the next few hours. And Ndombele has been in France since yesterday to sign on loan with an option to buy included. I understand there was some agonising over it, including hat option, it says here. I got a funny thing they've missed off the T, including that option in the deal from Spurs' end, but they have opted to include that. I think this hints at many changes to come for Lyon this coming summer. You look at the business they're doing at the moment, and it's exciting times with Ndombele coming back. Yeah, I mean, what is he? 60 odd million they paid for him. It's not really worked out. I mean, he's looked decent in flashes, but not really all that good. Just following on from this one from Nat Phillips signing on loan at Bournemouth until the end of the season, it says they're also interested in Nico Williams as well. Not so much Nico Williams, but Nat Phillips. That does frustrate me. Why on earth have we not gone, behave yourself? If it was court, it would have been not a black tie, maybe a grey tie at court. Only time I've ever been to court was when I did jury service, I'll have you know. Love a hat option. I will have 100. Yeah. I bet you like it at Ladies' Day at Ascot. You got your hat on and going around and chatting them all up, whatever. Okay, let's have a little refresh of this page and have a little butchers on here, just see what's going on. The Wout Weghorst to Burnley, it's a 3.5-year deal. He's a big lad, 6'6". You can see what Burnley are doing there. Duke seems to think he'll be all right. Big presence in the air. Just coming up here, West Ham have had a bid for Darwin Núñez rejected, probably because we wanted to sign him on an 18-month loan with an option to buy or something stupid like that. So you've got COVID, Luke. Oh shit! Hope you're not feeling too bad, and hope you're on the road to recovery. Because Duke obviously had it in
back in
like
December.
Christmas New Year, wasn't it? You had your Christmas ballsed up.
Yeah, I had the Omicron version, which didn't leave me disastrous, so I was all right. But it was, from what I understand, there's a few people still getting the other one doing the rounds.
Yeah, I still haven't got it to the best of my knowledge, and hopefully that remains ever so. In answer to that, Spence, as from a West Ham point of view, sod all. Lots of rumours, lots of whispers, lots of, are we linked with this player? Are we linked with that? But it's basically the same old shit, different day. We've got lots of names that we've been linked with, lots of names that you sort of think, oh, that'd be a dead tidy signing, or I'm not too sure about that, whatever. But, lots of rumours and not an awful lot happening. As I say, the latest one I've got that's a real definitive one is 14 minutes ago, according to this on Sky, saying Sky in Italy report that Benfica rejected a 45 million euro plus add-on bid from West Ham for striker Darwin Núñez because it fell short of their valuation. Be interesting to know, what is their valuation? And I'd like to know, has that question been asked? Turn around to the guys at Benfica and say, right, we're interested in this player. What's your price? What do you want for him?
Have we gone back in, Rob? This is the question. Like, we've gone in. I'm not being funny. We know right now we've got just shy of about 10 hours to go. Just over 10 hours to go. 10 hours, 20 minutes maybe, considering it's 11 o'clock.
It's slipping away.
So we've got 11 hours. Say we've got 11 hours to go, right? 10 hours. We've had a bid rejected. Are we currently sitting on our dick tips, waiting and doing nothing, knowing that we're getting into the desperate part of this? Or are we turning around and that fax, that email, whatever they're using right now, fax, that's come back to us and they've said, no, we're not selling him for that, sorry. Have we now turned around and gone, okay, well, straight off the bat, the first email that we reply is, okay, so you've turned down 45 plus the add-ons. We're not going to change the add-ons, but Would you accept 50, 55? What would you accept? Are we
Yeah.
like,
What are we
or are
dealing
we,
with?
as I say, are we sitting on our own dick tip, going, well, we'll wait for something to land in our lap. We'll wait for Salthouse to turn up and go, oh, Sullivan, I've got this guy that wants to move to you. Do you want him? And then we deal with that. It's just, I'm getting frustrated that we're kind of sitting on our laurels and waiting.
Well, here's something on the Nat Phillips one. Again, this was 8 minutes ago. Fabrizio Romano says that the deal's been agreed between Liverpool and Bournemouth, but it's now a question of personal terms and all the rest of it. Again, why the fuck are we not going in and saying, right, what are Bournemouth paying you? I tell you what, we'll add a couple of bob on top. Done.
Well, do you not think, right, or would you think, would you think that we've got someone in a room at Rush Green or London Stadium or wherever they can set up offices at the minute, and they're going, yes, please.
I did see that, Spence, but I'm not too sure that financially that Benfica wouldn't sort of pull the trigger before they got to 100 mil. I know they've got that clause in there, but
Yeah, do you not think we've got someone watching Rob TV and going, oh shit, that Phillips is going there, let's jump on that.
don't know. I'm getting quite frustrated with it. I mean, I'd have thought there might have been a little bit of movement, a little bit of noise. And I know you could turn around and say, well, we have had a bid rejected. You know, again, are we going to go back in, like you say, or are we just going to say, oh, well, they've not accepted our bid, walk away and turn around to the West Ham faithful and go, well, we tried. Usual shit.
Yeah, that's us, isn't it? That's us. That's what we do, mate. And this is what, yeah, this is what bugs me. Is I'm kind of standing here, so I mean everyone's looking at me like I'm some sort of mentalist because I'm standing here with my headset in, talking to no one. And the longer this goes on, the more and more frustrated I'm getting. Yeah, look, Stad Rems have accepted an improved offer of 25 million. I think I said 10 or 13 million in add-ons. I think I missed it.
Yeah.
And why are we sitting there with our dicks swinging in the wind? Why are we not going, here's 28 million? Here's 28 million pounds plus your add-ons. Why are we not doing that?
Oh, there's something that's just come up in yellow. Aubameyang has arrived in Barcelona. It's not done, but it says Aubameyang is making financial sacrifices to get the deal over the line. What is he? Is he going to have to sort of go to a food bank? Do you reckon, Duke?
Well, I mean, it just depends. I mean, listen, take the piss-taking part of it away. We know that they're in a situation, Barcelona. Why? No.
Double gin and tonic, please.
We're looking at a situation, Rob, where Barcelona are up shit creek without a paddle, and they cannot sign anyone without, I think it was Dembele leaving, because Dembele is on a huge chunk of change. Now, that being said, if Arsenal are not going to be willing to pay his wages, and Barcelona aren't going to be able to pay all of his wages, or a great deal of his wages, where do we find ourselves sitting at with him? He's going to have to, like you just said, make huge financial sacrifices. So does that mean that he's not going to get his full contracted wage at Arsenal because he's taking huge financial sacrifices? What is a huge financial sacrifice on that front? What does that come down to?
Well, is he on? How much is he on at Arsenal? Is it 350? I've got 350 in my head for some reason.
I thought it was about 350, 380 was where I was at.
Okay, so if he loses 100 grand a week and he's on 250, 280, I think he'll still survive.
Well, listen, there was that time, wasn't there, where Raul went from Barcelona to Madrid because he couldn't afford to live on 35 grand a week, and they doubled his wages. This was all the way back when. You know, it's the same thing. I want to answer that. Who put that up? Put that back up.
What, this
Aldi.
one?
Yeah. Well, I say I want to answer it. I want to ask the same question. What is he doing to justify. Now, we were told that he wasn't allowed to join us until the end of the January transfer window, from what I remember. Or was that the end of the last window?
No, I think it was at the end of the last transfer window. Once that
Okay.
closed on the 1st of September, he could go about his business,
And
I believe.
he wasn't allowed to take any of his database with him, if I remember rightly. The database, he signed over all rights to the database to City. Now, that being said, Rob, there are things that I've done in the past that I still remember now. There's still names that I remember from my past. Unless Newman signed a contract where he states he's not going to go for anyone on the list, and that's got to be a fucking expensive list. Let's not mess around. This is City with an extensive scouting network. This is City.
Why shouldn't they?
Abundance.
Why shouldn't, you know what I mean? It's not like
You know,
there are players on that list that are not City players. They've got no right.
No, that's my point. It makes me wonder if that's been the case, because surely he must have about 20 or 30 names in his head that he's scouted and he knows are like 5-star potential players. A bit like, you know, playing Football Manager. You look at this as a young lad. He's about 19, 20 now, and I do think City scouted him, because one of my friends told me that he was on City's 5-star potential list. There's a young lad by the name of Sebastian Esposito. He was, I believe, into Milan in Italy at one point. Yeah, there you go. It's Italian footballer. He is currently at Inter Milan. He's on loan at Basel. He's 19, right? But this lad, from talking to one of my mates who was, you know, working as a scout and a coach and everything else with City, turned around and said this guy is on the 5-star potential level. He's that good.
Wow.
Well, if that's the case, 19 years old, if he's that good and he's at Basel, Newman came in before the end of the transfer window, was told he couldn't say nothing. Why wasn't this name just put on a bit of paper and left somewhere in the office? If he's a 5-star potential player, why wasn't this player's name left on the side in an office somewhere? So Moyes then, oh, by the way, tells Vera, the cleaning lady, go get that Moyes for me. All of a sudden, we've done the donkey work as such. This guy should have been one of the number one targets. I can't imagine he's going to come cheaply. I'm not going to pretend that he's going to come cheaply, considering he's a 5-star target. Oh, $5.5 million, Rob. $5.5 million on transfer mark. Like,
nothing,
seriously, then move for this guy. He has 5-star potential. He has come out and said he'd rather go back and play for Inter Milan. But I'd test the water for a team that's going to be hopefully playing in Europe pretty soon. Why are we not even asking a question?
Here's another one on Fabrizio Romano's feed. Do you remember Alvaro Morata? Luke, do you remember Alvaro Morata, the Chelsea player? Yeah, it looks like he's not moving. Yeah, apparently Arsenal, Tottenham and Barcelona are all linked with him, but he's decided he wants to stay at Juventus.
Carlin. I can't blame him, Rob, and for what Dodo wants. Do you have a Carlin? Yeah, I can't listen. If he's going to stay at Juventus, is he playing though?
It says Max Allegri wants him to stay and play alongside Dusan Vlahovic.
Which is the guy they've just signed. Is it from Fiorentina?
Believe so.
Arsenal were interested in him, weren't they?
Yeah, and
Arsenal
Tottenham.
were interested in him.
And
I
Tottenham,
knew it was Arsenal that wanted to get involved. Cheers, my man. Thank you. I remember reading that Arsenal were involved, and then they got pissed off because they felt that Juventus had hijacked their move for him. But again, I don't.
Hold up.
It.
What's this? Longelo is better than Ashby. Why sell him to Forest? Who's been sold to Forest?
I'll try and watch.
Sorry?
If you ain't on Google, Rob, I'm already serving, so I can't but jump on and have a look, mate. Find out.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are we talking about, Longelo or Ashby? I mean, sure. I mean,
I know Ashby was, someone put in earlier that Ashby was linked on a loan move somewhere else.
Right. I wouldn't have a
Ashby
problem
was
with
good.
that if it was just a loan to get him a bit of experience, play him in the championship team. If it was that, I'd say, oh, okay, fine, fair enough. As long as we inserted a clause in it that said if we had some sort of injury crisis or whatever, we
We
could
could bring him
give
back.
him 7 days' notice and get his ass back to London Stadium. But
Yeah, no.
if we're
Listen,
selling,
I'm just gonna
Jesus.
listen, Rob. I'm gonna hand over to Paul. I will jump back on the stream in about 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, mate, that's fine, no problem.
Right. Catch you in a sec. Bye.
So just having a little look here. So I find it amazing that fans get angry with our mob. It's not like, listen, I'm not angry. Frustrated, yes. But completely not surprised by it. It's their modus operandi. They're not fans. Well, David Gold is a fan. David Sullivan purports to be one, but I don't believe him. Daniel Kretinsky definitely didn't grow up with pictures of posters of Bobby Moore or Trevor Brooking on his bedroom wall, I'm quite sure. But primarily, yes, they are businessmen. I will completely concede that point. It's all good having a small squad, but he's called Antonio tired. Who's to blame there? There isn't another striker at the club. Yeah, that is definitely on Moyes. 100%. Is Spence coming to West Ham from Forest? I've got absolutely no idea, but Walsh is just Longello's going to Forest, apparently. Okay. A top lad, Charlie. There was a bid for Longello a couple of days back. Ashby's going on loan to Hull. As I say, Charlie, wouldn't have a problem with Ashby going on loan to Hull. Absolutely fine. Get him some game time, some experience. Not a problem. So long as there's a clause inserted that we could bring him back a little bit lively, should it be necessary to do so. Longello, that's disappointing because I think that a lot of people thought he was the man of the match. All right, it's a dead rubber, but the game against Zagreb in the Europa League, a lot of people thought that Longello was the player of the match in that particular outing, and it's just a little bit disappointing that he's basically not been seen since. I don't think he's been on the bench. He certainly hasn't been in the starting 11 at any point since. Thank you very much, Sharky. Very in keeping with the occasion of West Ham signing no one in particular. West Ham will want 1 million for Longello is the rumour. Okay. I'd like to have seen him get a run, but it is what it is. What can you do? Andy Walsh looks like it's a done deal. Oh, Christ. What can you do? Okay, right. Just whilst we're waiting for Duke to come back, I'm just going to have a little scroll down here. So what we got? Yeah, this was at 12:55. Aubameyang has to reduce his wage very much at Barcelona. Okay. So this is Spanish football expert Alvaro Montero on Transfer Talk. It seems Aubameyang is very close to joining Barcelona. The player arrived at El Prat Airport. Okay. 1 hour ago. I think, yeah, okay. El Prat. I'm sure it means something interesting in Spanish, but there you go. We know that after it was impossible for the club to sign Alvaro Morata, who we just mentioned, he was the first option, being Aubameyang. Xavi saw that option with good eyes, as we say in Spanish, because he believes he is a good striker who can help the club in the next 4 to 5 months. It's a bit short term, but there you go. What we know is that the player is enthusiastic about the possibility, but of course he has to reduce his wage and his salary very much. Now, is this a loan deal? I'm guessing this is some sort of loan deal that Aubameyang's going to Barcelona on. Yeah, we've discussed that, Brookbond 73. That is the thing that concerns me greatly, is that Declan Rice he's an ambitious guy. Make no mistake. I know he didn't grow up a West Ham fan, but he's become a West Ham fan. He's he's essentially the captain of the club. Obviously, we know that Mark Noble's the captain, but he doesn't really play. But yeah, make no mistake. If Declan Rice sees us slipping down the table, and I said it earlier, if we finish 8th, he's gone. He's gone. He's not hanging around. And I don't blame him. I really wouldn't blame him. I'm a lifelong West Ham fan. but I would look at it through his eyes, and with the ability that he's got, he needs to be playing top level football, and I don't see that he's going to look at us finishing 8th and signing basically no one and being linked with a second tier striker in France. I don't think he's going to look at that as ambition. And as I say, I'm a big believer in that All Blacks mantra of when you're on top of your game, change your game. You know, you strengthen, you use your position of strength to your advantage. You leverage that to try and improve further still. And we're not. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. I like to make an effort every now and again. I know I look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards sometimes, but I like to try and make an effort. Yes, yeah, he did. I wonder whether that, again, to be fair and try and put some context on it, I wonder if Hugill was more assigning to try and mitigate any damage if we got relegated, which we obviously didn't, and then he became a little bit surplus to requirements. Apparently, Charlie, El Prat means the meadow.
I did wonder what it meant. He's landed in a field.
He's landed in a meadow. How about that?
Love that.
So, a long time no see.
Yeah, man. No, Duke posted in the chat if anyone wanted to join. I thought I'll come keep you company while Duke's not here. Let you.
Yeah, that's all right.
And I also just ask you, are you not eating lunch? No, not planning on that.
I will probably, when Duke gets back, I probably will at that point make like a tree and get out of here.
And get out of it. Yeah. Fair, very fair.
Have you seen the musical? Just to sort of
no.
to completely divert off of football talk.
See, this is why I'm here to just railroad everything off track. Yes, go on.
Oh, mate, if you get an opportunity to see Back to the Future the musical, do it. It's fantastic.
Oh, do you know we watched in the last year? Have you seen the Princess Diana musical?
No,
that's on Netflix. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. I can't remember who it was. A guitarist from like an American rock band from the 80s. Yeah. Diana the musical wrote it with someone or something, and it was only on like in America. It was never here for obvious reasons, right? And then they filmed a version of it for Netflix.
Yeah.
Who wrote it? The keyboard player for the rock band Bon Jovi. He wrote a Princess Diana, and honestly, it's like, I don't know. Have you ever watched like really bad films like The Room or something like that, where it's like it's so bad, but you watch it because it is so bad.
It's so bad.
It's
I think beautiful. The worst film that I've ever seen was the Avengers, and I'm not talking Captain America, Iron Man Avengers.
Sure.
I'm talking the what used to be in the 60s, Patrick McNee and Diana Rigg. They did a film in the 90s with, I think it was with Ralph Fiennes and Uma Thurman, and Sean Connery was in it.
Sure.
And it's the only film so far that I have gone to the cinema to watch, paid money, with my then girlfriend, who is now my wife. And it's the only film that after, I don't know, 40 minutes or so of watching it, I've literally stood up and walked out and just said, I cannot watch this. This is absolute shit, unadulterated.
That's
the only film I've ever walked out.
To be honest, so the only film I've ever walked out on early, and to this day, I'm still like, why, Charlie? But I was a kid at the time, to be fair. Me and one of my friends, we went to watch the second Lord of the Rings film.
Right.
And we got so bored before, and we left before. If you don't know the second Lord of the Rings film, basically the last third of it is this amazing fight scene, this incredible thing that just goes on for. It's just this great bit. Helm's Deep. It all kicks off. You got Legolas going downstairs with a bow and out, pow, pow, pow. But before that, it's all just walking about in a field and that. And we got so bored that we ended up running through the fire escape of the local Odeon just to see where it went because we were bored. And yeah, to this day, it's my favorite bit of any of the three Lord of the Rings films is that fight scene. And when I was a kid, I left the cinema before it even happened. I only saw it years later. But that's the only film I've ever walked out on. Everything else, I stay true.
Audi says he walked out of the same film that I walked out of, so that tells
There
you
you
how
go.
crap it was. Have you ever walked out of a film in a cinema, Duke? Oh, he's there, but he's not. I'm guessing.
Fair.
Yeah. What we got here? Lord of the Rings, The Quest for a Number. Do you know what? Everybody goes on about Harry Potter films. I've never seen a Harry Potter film.
You know what?
No,
Pretty good, man.
Never seen a Harry Potter film.
I
think I've only ever seen one Lord of the Rings film, and that was the first one. And I just couldn't.
You're starting to
get
talk
into
like
it.
me, Gatesy. You're starting to talk like me. This is the sort of thing I do. I'm legendarily terrible. Have I ever done this with you? I'm legendarily terrible at watching films and TV shows.
Yeah.
To the point where you can name any of the best film, TV shows that you think every single person has watched, and the chances are, I've just not seen it. Doesn't matter when it's from. Could be now, could be 5 years ago, could be 10 years ago. I haven't seen them. Terminators, never seen them.
Really?
Not literally none of them. I think I watched part of the second one once when I was a kid, but I don't remember it. It's incredible.
Are you there, Duke?
Yeah, I am. I was having absolute nightmares. I've descended to the depths of the cellar to continue my stock taking. And I kind of walked in on Charlie discussing Lord of the Rings, and I kind of wish I'd been there a little bit earlier for that conversation.
What's
You
your
ever
vibe?
walked out of a film, Duke, in the cinema? Have you ever sort of like gone to a film that was that bad you walked out?
Not because it was that bad, but because it was that realistic, Rob.
Oh.
Yeah, I took my grandfather, God rest his soul, to see Saving Private Ryan.
Oh my! Well, she's never seen a Rocky film.
Yeah, neither have I.
No.
Never.
That's been
my
surname.
word.
I played the PS2 Rocky game, if that helps.
No.
But I never watched. I never watched any of the films.
No.
No. Okay. Well, then unfortunately, I'm Rocky-less. Rocky-less. I don't think I've
Shocking
ever seen a film,
behaviour.
but having to think about it, I don't think I've ever seen a single film with Sylvester Stallone in it.
Have you
I
not?
can't think of any. What else has he even been in?
Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, Rocky 5,
Yeah.
Rocky
Go on, The Rock.
Balboa,
Tell it like it is,
Creed,
mate. Go on.
Creed
never seen
2,
that. No.
First Blood.
Oh, none of the Rambo films. Seen none of the Rambo films. Didn't
I think the
see.
only one
What
I've
was
ever
that?
seen is First Blood Part 2. That's the only one
What
I've
was
ever
that
seen.
one? What was that film that came out? Must be about 5-10 years ago now. The one where it had all of them in it, like Arnie and Sylvester
The
Stallone.
The
Expendables.
Expendables.
That's it. Never
Wasn't
seen
Stone
that.
Cold Steve Austin in it?
That sounds about
He was
right.
in
It sounds like the sort of thing I would
Expendables
want to watch. But
3.
yeah, never seen Escape to Victory.
Have you not?
No.
I'll what?
Apparently, they had to dub over John Walk's real accent because nobody could understand him.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But yeah, there's loads of what like Nedge never seen it. Never seen it. I saw the first Matrix film like last month for the first time. That was fun. Planning on watching the rest at some point. I haven't got around to it, but at some point I will. Seen the first
Not
one.
my favourite films, I have to say. Not my favourite films.
I was surprised how much it held up. I thought it was going to be a big old mess. Like, I thought I was going to watch that Matrix film and be like, this is going to be just the most late 90s nonsense I've ever seen in my life. And don't get me wrong, there's significant portions where it is, but it actually holds up relatively well. I was surprised. But yeah, never seen it.
Here's a name for you, and I've just refreshed it. I'm just scrolling down. Transfer Talks Michael Bridge says that there will be plenty of players waving goodbye to Tottenham today, and has urged Dele Alli to leave the club to help reignite his career. Discuss.
I mean, he needs to leave. That's pretty clear. He's done at Tottenham. Like he he in his prime, Dele Alli is when he's on his day, he's obviously incredibly good, but it's one of those ones where he plays quite a specialist role. He has that sort of second striker, kind of just behind the striker, but I compare him to Thomas Muller, the sort of space investigator. Raudendeuter just sort of moves about and does his thing, and that's quite a specialist role that not many teams play. And obviously Tottenham in their prime did, and he was very good at it, but outside of that, he's not really had much opportunity to, and he needs to leave. But finding him the right club for a player who has that specific skill set, I can imagine would be quite tough.
Would you take him at West Ham?
I wouldn't be against it on a sort of, if we had a manager who played that system, I wouldn't be against it. Last year, if we'd had him instead of Lingard, I could have seen that potentially working, although he doesn't have the speed and the dribbling for counter-attacking football like Lingard does. But he at least has that sort of, we were sort of playing almost the two up front. But now we play a different system. I wouldn't go near. At West Ham in general, yes. At West Ham right now under David Moyes, no.
Duke?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I've got slightly different reasons for not taking him currently, and that's because of his stupid fucking haircut. But that being said, I mean, he's a good player. He is a good player. Let's not take that away from him. And he would offer something. Again, I'm probably going to get myself shot for this, but again, like Benteke, he'd offer something different off the bench to what we do. It gives us a plan B. We don't tend to have a plan B. Our plan B is bringing on shitter players than what we've already got on the pitch in Yarmolenko and Matawaku. So it give us an option to mix things up by bringing these players on. So that's where I stand on that.
And Ndombele's going to Lyon. It's done deal, according to Fabrizio Romano.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
He's been a massive disappointment for them, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
considering the price.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like at Lyon before, he was brilliant. He was so good. And when they signed him and Lo Celso at the same time, I was like, holy crap, they've signed two of them. Like, I would have thought you could maybe get one, but both at the same time, it felt like a bit of a coup. But I mean, Tottenham's decline in general has been very poor, and he's not helped that whatsoever. So again, it's one of those ones where he needs to get out of there. So it doesn't surprise me.
How about you, Duke?
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I feel Tottenham's, again, this has the ability to come back and bite me in the ass. Tottenham's decline has, for me, been a significant part of the reason was a significant change in, as Charlie alluded to earlier with Dele Alli, changing the way they actually play. And the way they now set up, and as Charlie said, when Dele Alli was, playing in that kind of covered role behind, it worked for him. It worked for Tottenham, and they were not being funny. They were Champions League. They were doing everything else. And
may I just interject, if I may? This was literally a minute ago on Sky Sports News, and I don't know whether this is possibly going to interest us or not, but. We've been saying about Hugo Ekitike to Newcastle.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it's going to happen. I'm just going to quote this here. This is from Sky Sports' Keith Downey, who's at Newcastle's training ground. Quotes, "We've been telling you this morning that a deal has been reached for Hugo Ekitike to Newcastle. But I have to see that although the fee has been, I have to say, I think is what they meant to write, that although the fee has been agreed, time really looks like it might be against Newcastle on this one. They're obviously keen to bring the young French striker in. It's someone they've been looking at for the whole window." So just on that, if you've been looking at him the whole window, why didn't you bring him in earlier? I don't know. But it's our understanding that the player is going to take a little bit of persuading to come here. The clock is ticking down and time is running out due to the geography involved. So he would have to make that decision to come here to Newcastle, travel over, take his medical, sign the deal before the deadline. It may just fall down due to the player wants to do. Newcastle would then have to look elsewhere. We know they've been interested in Jesse Lingard all window long. The player is keen to move here and Newcastle would love to bring him here. But the financials are the problem there and both parties would need to come to some kind of compromise. Newcastle would only turn to Lingard if they get a definite no from Ekitike, which only a few hours to go they felt was going to happen. But that one is on ice at the moment. Interesting.
One other thing that's happening involving us right now, the Standard are just reporting that Benfica have rejected West Ham's bid of 50 million plus 10 million add-ons for Darwin Núñez. So that's a new bid. So apparently we're not giving up on that one. We are still going in.
But I think they're gonna. I think someone quoted 70 million. They reckon that Benfica will budge at that point, but I can't see we're going to go to 70 mil. I really can't.
No, not unless the it's all add-ons. Then I can't see it happening. Yeah, and time is of the essence. He's in a different country. We need to figure this out relatively soon.
Is he out in? Is he out in Uruguay playing internationals? Isn't he? So
he is. Like I'm not sure if it's in Uruguay because I don't know who they're facing, but he is on international duty. Yeah.
So that's a significant problem because obviously we saw that during the last transfer window with some of the signings. There was issues with players being so far away, wasn't there?
Yeah, I know the suggestion earlier. I think you spoke about it. The suggestion earlier was that Spurs, who are obviously trying to sign Bentancur, who's also on loan, who's also away with Uruguay at the moment. There were suggestions that we would use the same, essentially, fitness team to do the medical on him at the same time, which makes it easier. But like again, it's this thing I said earlier to you both. It's this idea of like, we're asking him to make a snap decision about the next 4 years of his life. He's 22 years old. He's busy in a different country, playing for his country, representing his country, and we're asking him to make a snap decision about coming to West Ham. I think it's a silly thing to do, but we're trying at least. And again, it's someone who I would love, but I just don't think it's going to happen. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a struggle. I really do, to get these over the line at least. So again,
just in this comment here, we tried FC.
Well, I'd rather play for We Tried FC than Prison FC.
Well, there's always silver linings, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Right, boys, I'm going to disappear and do myself some lunch. Are you going to carry on, you two?
Yeah, I'm happy to stick around for a bit.
I was going to say, I probably need to go because I need to get my stocks done. Shall we talk about reconvening?
What time do you want to do that, my friend?
As you can see, that I'm...
Right, you are full on actually just in the basement.
I'm counting stocks. And the problem is, if I was to... Let me see if I can show you how high this roof is.
Yeah, it's not very...
I mean... I'm not even standing up straight, and I'm hitting my head on the ceiling. This is probably about 5'5". I mean, there's me standing up straight, and it's not exactly easy. So I mean, listen, what's the time now? I don't even know what time it's going.
18 minutes past 1.
Should we reconvene at 2?
Tell you what, make it 2:30.
Sounds good to me. We might have some interesting announcements.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's all a little bit sort of. I'm trying to scrabble around for various nuggets of information, but it's all a little bit. I mean, listen, I could bring you news that Dundee have agreed a deal with Partick Thistle to sign striker Zach Rudden, but probably most people watching this don't really give a monkeys. Let's be honest.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just going ham over here about that. That sounds wild.
What you?
I don't know. I don't know how to contain myself.
Do you want more detail on this, Charlie?
I would say when
are we talking
obviously
the comment or the transfer.
I'm talking the comment, Duke. Can I have extensive details, please, sir?
Well, apparently Alex Jakubiak will be going the other way on loan. If you're interested, Charlie.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Well, I'm going to go do some research. Research.
And they're also trying to, Dundee they're also trying to work a deal to bring in Motherwell defender Ricky Lamey.
Who's defender?
Motherwell.
Yeah, she's all right, thanks. Whee!
It's good. It's good, ladies and gentlemen.
They don't get any better.
And you thought today was going to be bad. Look at that. Look at that.
Who does
Subscribe. Like the video.
Antonio play for?
You tell me.
Country.
Oh, Jamaica.
No, she wanted to go.
Ba-dum.
I've got them all.
Oh,
They're
my
all there for you
goodness.
today.
Unbelievable. See what I have to work with.
There's that
Right.
team in Italy, isn't it? Begins with a G.
Genoa.
No, I don't. I only met her once. Hey! I've got listen all day. I've got these all day for you. Like, they're the only three I've got. I might have to Google some more.
Yeah, you do that. I'll do the dad jokes. Right, okay.
All right, well, shall we reconvene in about an hour, yeah?
Yeah, I'd say that'd be about right. Like I say, but make it half 2 and we'll crack on.
All right, I'll catch you in a bit.
All right, dudes. Thanks a lot.
All right, take it easy, mate.